Bookie Beatdown coming at you, Paul, Cody, UFC Seattle, across the pond and across the continent from London last week. Full slate of fights. Decent enough offering from the UFC. Plenty to get into. Some fighters I thought I'd never see again. We'll get to that when we get to that.
Some that you never will.
Hopefully we don't see. I'll just let Niko Price. Like I don't need to see you anymore, bud. Like I feel bad. He's got like 37 kids though, so I suppose
he's got a lot of mouths to feed. A lot of mouths to feed.
Anyway, main event. We got Israel Adesanya taking on Joe Pyfer. Adesanya is a minus 150 favorite. The comeback on Joe plus 130. Cody, where are you at on this fight?
Well, this is a tough one to cap simply because the wonder is what's going on with Israel Adesanya. Is he back? Is he reinvigorated? Is he past his prime? Which I think we all think he is. But how past his prime is he? Is he shot to bits? And I think you'll never really know a gauge of those questions until he comes out here and fights on Saturday. When you look at his last 5 fights, he has been knocked out twice. He's been knocked down 3 times. Sean Strickland put him down. And, of course, Alex Pereira knocks him out in his last time out against Nasruddinov, getting knocked out. Now, these are the best guys in the world, right? Sean Strickland not known for his power, but ask Fluffy Hernandez how hard this guy hits. It's not like he's the biggest pillow-fisted guy in the world. Point being, in Israel Adesanya's case, is can he take some of those punches? Because the thing with Pyfer is that he is a natural power puncher. He's probably going to land some of those right hands, maybe a decent right hook early in the first round, maybe first 2 rounds. And if Izzy can really just do a good job of managing the range and just creating space and not overly engaging himself and putting himself in bad spots in those first 10 minutes, I think he starts to take away after that. He's just a much cleaner striker. The thing with Pyfer is he relies entirely too much on his jab. He's got a good jab, but he's giving up like 6 inches in the reach department or 5 inches in the reach department to Israel Adesanya. So simply going out there and jabbing the way you did against Kelvin Gastelum is not a good look. And then going back to that Kelvin Gastelum fight, the first round, he knocks Gastelum down. The second round, he's looking to wrestle a little bit. The third round, he's tired. That same type of tired that allowed you and I to cash a ticket on Jack Hermanson against him way back in the day because it was a 5-round fight. The first 2 rounds, Pyfer won. The third round, he's tired. 3, 4, and 5, he's gassed. You've not seen him in a 5 round since then. So to me, he's got lingering cardio issues. 2 is that he's very basic with his jab and right hand. You can avoid that power earlier. It's going to start to fall off. Although he can wrestle, this is a guy that only picked up wrestling his senior year of high school, wrestled 1 year, did not wrestle in college, is now picking it up after the fact. He's from Pennsylvania. It runs in his blood. Don't get me wrong. He can wrestle. But he's not really a Dricus Duplessis natural-born winner. He's not really a dog. He's not really a 5-round kind of guy. And I think for the most part, once he runs out of ideas and fails to land that big power punch, is where you're going to see Israel Adesanya start to take over. As much as we can say Izzy's regressing in the durability department, he won the first round against Nasruddin Imavov, and then he got caught. He was winning the fight against Dricus Duplessis before making a mistake and getting caught in the rear naked choke in the 4th round. It's not as if it's been washed the entire time. He's showing you a glimpse of brilliance is that these opponents are able to capitalize on that one mistake that he makes the longer the fight goes. Pyfer's not that guy. Pyfer's a catch you clean early type guy. If not, again, I start thinking that he runs out of ideas. Is he also maybe susceptible to the leg kicks? Pyfer really doesn't throw a ton of leg kicks. Taking him down would be a good game plan, but that's going to cause Joe Pyfer to now, maybe overexert himself and put too much energy into it. Pyfer lost the wrestling battle against Abus Magomedov, right? Against Kelvin Gastelum, he got him down once. Against Jack Hermanson, failed to take him down at any time. I wouldn't classify him as necessarily the biggest takedown threat, and if that's the game plan for 25 minutes, he's going to gas out. So for me, is he just point-based style for the first couple rounds, touch and go, move your feet, use your kicks, find that range, let him swing himself out a bit, and then 3, 4, 5 take over and deliver a finish or enough to win a points decision on the scorecard. So I will take Israel Adesanya, but you can't feel great about it given that he's lost his last couple fights and he's coming off a knockout loss and he's not looked exceedingly well over his last number. The guy's a class operator, and even though Pyfer's only 28, I don't see a ton of improvements from him fight to fight. So it's going to be Adesanya pick for me this week.
Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
The good news is Pyfer found Jesus Christ in his life. So now that he's got God potentially on his side, he could be in for an easy cruising. But give me the bad news, Paul Shaughnessy.
Bad news is I think you're using your microphone from your headset which is underneath your shirt and is rubbing against your.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is bad news.
Because it sounds a little bit hollow, and then like when you were getting all like animated and stuff, it was definitely rubbing against your shirt. I think you can change the microphone on your side. The good news is I agree with you is that me and you have never really been Pyfer guys, and yeah, we did cash big February 2024 against Hermanson, and we kind of read that like we read that fight script like a cheap romance novel. He did well early, as he does in most of his fights. There's always the cop out of saying, "Oh, you may get a better price than Israel Adesanya," and you avoid, if he gets knocked out, it's probably in the first 2 rounds by playing him live. But like, got to make picks on the show, and I think at like -150, Adesanya's got enough takedown defense that that Pyfer hasn't shown crazy good wrestling ability. I think he does have a good submission game when he gets it down there, which could cause Izzy some problems. But I mean, it took 4 rounds for Dricus to get him down there and get to the back and get a rear naked choke. Like,
Dricus is just a winner, man. That's just what he does.
100%. So Israel Adesanya -150 is fine by me. Could be a decision. I've chased enough trying to figure out finish props with him that it's just like, I think I just stick to the money line on this fight this week. And I'll be watching, of course, live to see if Pyfer gets a nice little start. If Pyfer wins, probably going to be early, and you're going to lose that Adesanya bet. But,
yes,
but Adesanya, in theory, could win early as well, right? I mean, he knocked out Alex Pereira with an absolutely beautiful counter. So why couldn't he do that to Joe Pyfer? But Adesanya will be the pick. And if Adesanya is doing okay, but maybe down a round or 2 as we head into the third, I'd be definitely very interested to see what the live line is on that as well. Moving on down, we got Alexa Grasso taking on Maycee Barber. I saw you post a tweet recently, just in the last few hours about it, making fun of Grasso.
No, I wasn't.
Maybe not making fun of Grasso, saying that, like, how the mighty have fallen. She's won like 3 out of her last 17 rounds. Well, the odds makers tend to agree as she's a +160 underdog to Maycee, the future Barber. It can be at -185. I'm assuming you're taking your girl Barber here.
No, I'm ashamed to admit this, Paul. I was testing a theory. A theory online. I know. And I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy.
Rage baiting people?
Yeah. No.
Wow.
The kids are calling it
news.
The kids are calling it engagement farming. If you put out a good tweet, well thought out, cool tweet, you don't get shit. It's like, I don't know, the algorithm just doesn't care. People scrolling by don't care. And it's the world we live in. You can watch a video of a monkey peeing in his own mouth. Why would you sit here and read a text that somebody took 20 minutes to come up with the stats and look it over and verify that it was ready to go and send it out? You get nothing. Then something like that Alexa Grasso thing. It's not a take. I said that she's won 3 of her last 17 rounds in the UFC. I didn't say she's washed. I didn't say bet Barber because this girl has won 3 of her 17 rounds. I simply said she's won 3 of her 17 rounds, or last 17 rounds in the UFC. That's it. That's the tweet. And there's a picture of her. That's it. It's just a factual tweet. I didn't say which side I was on. I didn't say that it meant anything grandesque. It's just that here is a stat. And dude, the replies and it's like people retweet it so they can quote tweet it so they can dunk on you and say, well, 3 of those fights were against Valentina Shevchenko, and how would Maycee Barber do against Valentina Shevchenko? Well, that's what me and Paul are going to talk about right now. But the tweet was just a tweet. And so once people start retweeting it and quote tweeting it, and then they comment because they somehow assume that you're saying this thing and I don't agree with this thing, and then they get fired up. It's like they're fighting with each other in your comment section, and I quite literally did nothing other than post an interesting stat. That's it. That's all.
And then you came on here and I accused you, probably in a nicer way than people on the internet.
In a way nicer way, but the way you were remembering it, you were like, well, you said something like she's washed or you're taking. I didn't say anything like that, but that's
the world we live in, buddy.
Oh, I know, dude. That's the world we live in. Anyways, this is actually a really razor close fight. When you look at Maycee Barber, her difference between her and Valentina Shevchenko, obviously Shevchenko far better wrestler, but Shevchenko's got really good footwork, and she's got very tight technical kickboxing. When you look at Alexa Grasso's last performance, again, she got 30-27 across the board, but Natalia Silva moves really well and fights a good range game. Like Maycee Barber does it. First of all, they've already fought once already, and Alexa Grasso got the pretty close competitive decision. I mean, there's an argument that Barber had the 3 takedowns and slightly landed more, but Grasso more effective and won the fight. So now you're running it back, and Grasso's excited for this matchup because she's like, 1, I know Maycee, but 2, Maycee's going to engage me, and that's not something I've had the luxury of having an opponent do in quite some time. Literally your last 4 fights, 3 of them are Valentina Shevchenko, and the 4th one being Natalia Silva. So it's relatively the same style, and clearly your Mexican boxing and your spirit and your willingness to engage more in a pocket type of fight is just not materializing for her. This will give her exactly that. Now with Maycee Barber, she's big, strong, and physical, but when I say big, she's really not big. She's got, I think, same height as Alexa Grasso, giving up 1 inch in the reach department, is that she's very physical. With that physicality, though, there's not exactly a whole lot of technique. Like Valentina can wrestle with the absolute best of them, but in Barber's case is that she's usually losing the wrestling battle. Last time out, she slightly took Karina Silva 3-2 in takedowns completed, but with Karina Silva, not exactly the biggest takedown threat, and did rack up almost 2.5 minutes of control time. Not a great look. More concerning is Amanda Hebus took her down twice. Andrea Lee took her down 5 times. Jessica I, basically a straight-up boxer, took her down. Random Maverick muscled her down. Montana De La Rosa, say what? Took her down. You go back to all the way to our girl Roxanne Modafferi once upon a time. I took her down.
That was years ago.
It's years ago, and she blew her knee out in that fight. And then I think when it's easy to say, well, Grasso already won this matchup once, right? But what people don't realize is contextually, Barber blew her knee out against Roxanne Modafferi, loses, is like a 6-1 underdog. And then her very next fight is Grasso. So she's coming off a knee injury. She's 21 years old. Grasso's 27 years old. So there's a lot that's changed between the last fight, for sure. And with Barber, you can say, well, the weight cut issues and her boyfriend's a weirdo and she's got some health problems and some anxiety problems. And yeah, we've seen a fight get canceled right before the ring walk because she's had issues in the past. But when she does show up, she's pretty violent, man. She's willing to engage you. If Grasso wants to fight in the pocket, Barber's going to be standing right there. She loves to throw elbows. She's got, I think, higher volume. She's got more power. But one has to think, Grasso's a tricky veteran herself. She may be able to complete takedowns. She may be able to land strikes. It's close to a 50-50 fight. The line's not too far off from that, but they are saying Barber's the favorite. And if you're a dogger pass type guy, I wouldn't fault you in the slightest bit. To me, it does feel like Grasso's regressing, and it does feel like Barber's on the way up. And so for that reason, I'm more compelled to maybe think if Barber pulls up, but do I want to pay a -140? Do I want to pay something like that? No.
180.
It's moving. I didn't want to pay -140 when it was -140 a couple days ago. Now it's -180. Yeah. It honestly is a dogger pass type situation, and Grasso probably is the way to go. I will say with Grasso, though, when I say regression, what I mean is the first time she fights Valentina, she lost the first 3 rounds, but she wins. 4th round submission. Boom. Win. The second time she fights Valentina, she gets a draw. Still only wins 2 of the rounds, but the knockdown should have been a 10-8. 2 judges gave it a 10-8. It's a draw. So you won, and then you have a draw. But they're both competitive. The third fight with Valentina, she got 50-45 across the board. She was not competitive at all. And then, Natalia Silva's a very tricky style, but she got 30-27 and didn't really look into it all that much. Landed 45 significant strikes. Overall in her career, she has a 41% striking accuracy. That's low. She might be throwing out some jabs and some right hands, but not much is connecting. So Barber's going to land the bigger shots. The crowd's going to reflect that in the noise that they're making. She may be able to muscle down Grasso. I get why she probably should be the slight favorite, but at the number that it's currently at, it's a women's MMA fight, Paul. Don't be getting burned on parlays this week on it. I feel like I want to take Grasso. And the people online will say, man, you just told me that Barber's going to win. I did tell you Barber's going to win. I said, Grasso's won 3 of her last 17 rounds. So She's going to have a good performance come this week. But yeah, she's hungry to throw down, and Barber's the perfect opponent to do just that. So give me slight, ever so slight. There's a gun physically to my head that you guys can't see in the background. Guy standing right there. Okay, gangsters disciples from Illinois. I'm sorry, but I got to pick somebody as a result, and I take Grasso because she's the underdog.
So you're saying that after Saturday night, Grasso may have won 5 of her last 20?
Yeah, 5 of her last 20 rounds.
I mean, you're not going to get too much argument from me. It was close chick fight. Barber's fights, even though she's definitely very physical, they tend to be pretty competitive. And that it doesn't really matter like the level of competition all that much. She kind of fights the level of her competition. So I expect this to be a super, super close fight. I'm sure the fight ends in split decision is way too short for me to even think about playing it. But
split looks, yeah, you're not wrong there, dude. It looks like that type of fight.
Of course it looks like that type of fight. It'll come down to, if Barber's getting takedowns, how much control time she's getting, and then those exchanges on the feet and who's winning those moments right at the end of rounds. Like it's going to be close. It's going to be
this will be. And you remember the Miranda Maverick fight? It's like Barber 100% lost, and then they give it to Barber because she's mid. They like that. Mm-hmm. Well, Grasso's mid too, dog. So just make sure you give it to the right winner. Hopefully that being Alexa Grasso, a former world champion. Again, I think we could talk ourselves in circles on this one. Both got merit, both got a path to victory, but it's closer to 50-50. And for that reason, at this current price, you're getting some value.
Yeah, I agree. It's dog or pass at this price. Probably closer to 50-50, maybe even like a -140, +120, but little bit of value on Grasso at the time of this recording. If it gets closer to a pick 'em, then I wouldn't touch it whatsoever. Moving on down, we've got Michael Chiesa taking on Niko Price. Niko Price coming in on short notice, taking on one of the UFC broadcasters. I suppose that's a benefit. That's a step in the right direction because, like, after Niko Price, it didn't. How long ago was that? It wasn't even that long ago.
No, it was in February, first week of February.
And I watched Veretnikov knock his head off, and I was just like, we just can't do this again. We can't. Like, I didn't bet him. I was just saying, like, I just don't want to see Niko Price out there. There's other leagues out there in the world, right? Like, he doesn't have to be fighting the UFC caliber opponents because he's not UFC caliber anymore, I suppose now at least he's fighting a pillow-fisted broadcaster in Michael Chiesa, but Chiesa's still a very solid athlete and a tough out on any given night, but at least the power in his hands. But I guess we said the same thing about Veretnikov. Veretnikov wasn't exactly some sort of murderous power puncher.
Yeah, he can crack.
Yeah, he can crack. But I don't know. It's weird that why does Niko get the call? Do you have all these contender series kids? I guess it's who Michael Chiesa, who has Dana White's phone number, is able to call and get the fight lined up for. I think Chiesa wins. He's -600, obviously. Which path is the most likely? Most likely is probably sub or does it get to decision? I don't know. He's got the KO prop is pretty wide, but it's like feel like I've ran down that road of betting a Chiesa by KO prop before. It just doesn't happen. He doesn't really throw very hard, and then if he does hurt anybody, he is fishing for subs immediately. So. Chiesa, I think wins this fight pretty. He was getting ready for this. He hasn't been on all the broadcasts very much recently. And the reason for that is he had a fight coming up. Niko Price shakes the cobwebs and is right back in there when I thought that, Veretnikov I thought was going to be the end of the line for him. But I guess we get one more. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, so here's the engagement farming on this one, right? Is that Michael Chiesa has been fighting professionally for 16 years. He has 26 pro fights. He's never knocked out a guy ever, not once. He's got zero
Wild.
career wins by knockout. So that's your tweet. Your tweet is he's never won by knockout, and then people would say, "Man, Niko Price is a bum." It's like, I didn't say he wasn't. I'm just, that's your stat. It's a stat. It's a wild stat. What's even more wild is that he was 7-1 as an amateur. He never knocked out anybody as an amateur. What's even more wild than that is that he's had 21 fights in the UFC. Of those 21 fights in the UFC, he has recorded one single knockdown. That being when he knocked down George Masvidal with a right hand. So the fight game, it takes away Paul Shaughnessy. You never really know what you're going to get. But if you were going to go, if you tell the UFC, hey, man, I'm going to retire. They say, okay, this is a guy that is a broadcaster for us. He won the Ultimate Fighter back in the day. He's been a company man. We gave him Tony Ferguson. What a layup with a high-profile name. Then we gave him Max Griffin. And then we gave him Court McGee. They love this guy. They love him. They love him.
Mhm.
Now he's saying, I would like to retire. And you got this guy that's tenured, former Ultimate Fighter winner. You clearly have a ton of respect for. You clearly like, is going to resume a job as a play-by-play guy or as a broadcaster for you. You're giving him the perfect send-off fight where it's a guy, if you want to get that first ever career knockout to sail off into the sunset, this is the guy, right? 100%. And it's in Seattle, right? And I mean, the guy's been in Washington. Yeah, right. It's Pacific Northwest. He's a Pacific Northwest legend of the game, and you're giving him a co-main event spot. Now, mind you, the original opponent was Carlston Harris, which is not the easiest fight in the world if we're being perfectly honest with each other. But Carlston Harris gets injured, and now Niko Price is. They weren't saying, well, who else on the roster wants to put their hand up to fight Michael Chiesa in a retirement fight? I bet you a lot of guys. We're going to bring in a guy that just got deaded by Vorotnikov in February. We're going to parade him back out. And it's not the knockout. I know we spent a lot of time talking about the knockout. It's not. It's the ground game, right? Niko Price got taken down 7 times by Themba Garimbo, right?
Yeah.
So Michael Chiesa is going to get the takedowns. And then when Michael Chiesa takes you down, he has a knack for catching the rear naked choke. Most of his wins are by rear naked choke. I'm not using MMA math and saying, well, Jacoby Smith just choked him out with the rear naked. No, it's that Michael Chiesa, that's his move. He choked out Tony Ferguson with the rear naked. He caught Max Payne Griffin with the rear naked in a fight that wasn't great until he caught him at the end, let's be real. And then his last fight, Court McGee's never been submitted ever in his professional career. So that one, I'm not surprised, but, he got the takedown, or he got, not the takedowns, he got some control time. He showed off some striking. There's no doubt about it. Michael Chiesa is regressing, is that the UFC is giving him a perfect send-off. And normally I would say, do not bet a guy who's just told you he's retiring afterwards. But Eric Anders effect, what's up? That fight was close, but Eric Anders is retiring. Well, let's give the old dog the win on his way out. Michael's in his hometown, not his hometown. Michael's in front of his people in a retirement fight in a great spot here against Niko Price, where he could knock him out the same way that Jesus Aguilar knocked out Shannon Ross once upon a time. It can happen. It can happen. But more importantly is if he does not knock him out, he's going to take him down. And when he takes him down, he's going to sub him. You can watch Niko Price, who's apparently a black belt, grapple against Pat Sabatini, who fights in the UFC at 145 pounds. Sabatini, wrestling college, takes him down immediately, takes his back. Price tries to stand up. He hits him with a Sulov stretch. It looked like Niko Price had never grappled a day in his life, and he's taking on a featherweight. Now you're taking on a big old Michael Chiesa, who's ambitious to go get his hand raised one last time and ride off in the sunset on a 4-fight winning streak. It's cool. It's like Paul Felder. This guy could have kept kicking some ass, and he decided to step away at not his peak. He was a little over the hill, but why take extra damage? Let's go to our next career opportunity. Chiesa's doing that, but it'd be nice to have that hand raised. It'd be nice to say, I could have fought some more, but I decided to leave on my own accord, on my own wish. So he's minus 500. What do you want to know? But for me, he's a parlay piece this week, and he should make this look relatively easy.
He's a minus 600 and probably going to get wider. Perfectly honest.
They're all going to get wider. It's when I tweet out the PRP, I'm using the lines of that very moment just so people can't say, "Oh man, you got the opener." Oh man, that line didn't exist. But guys like Navajo, Stirling, who could have been had at like minus 450 earlier in the week, you ain't going to see that. It'll go off
No,
at
it's
minus
not coming
800.
back.
No, it's gone. It's gone. It's never coming back. You know, those are one of those fights that you can see when it first gets announced. Yes, I want him. I'm loading up on him.
And
Then
you
come
start the start of the week. You make a few parlays. Like I've
and
got a
then you're
couple
stuck with
parlays with like Navajo and Thynara here at better
the
prices.
good
But
parlay. That's
now I
the
probably
parlay.
won't add them to
You're too
parlays
chalky
later
now.
in the week. What's
Yeah,
that?
yeah. 100%, dude. That's the parlay this week, I think. But now, once one of them's minus 800 and the other one's going to be minus 600, it's like I'm parlaying two guys together to get, don't
Yeah.
quote me on it, but minus 325. It's like, it's just, you're not betting that as a solo play, right? So now you have to add one more and you have to add one more. And you see it every week, or I'm not making excuses for myself, but it's like, well, why'd you put Curtis Campbell on the top? It's like, because at least he was only minus 240. And the 3 or 4 guys that you liked better than him were minus 600, minus 700. I got Contra Divisius as minus 800. Do I put him at the top? Like, no. So I'm forced to take some risk, which I know what I'm getting myself into. We're gambling here. I understand there's risk. And I put him up top, and then he ends up shitting in the apple pie. Whatever. It is what it is. Point being is that sometimes when you have your two best plays end up getting to minus 8 or minus 600, and you can preach all day long about CLV and just get on it earlier in the week. That's fine. If you're looking to bet $100 soft limit on it, then do absolutely go ahead. It's just not my style personally, but for a good rate of an ROI or your rate of return, or being able to say I won a unit, and then you win a unit every week for the course of 50 weeks, and you say you're up 50 units at the end of the year, then by those standards, yeah, hit that opener, because you can see the fights you like. But generally, those fights you like come time that they open up the big parlays or that they open up the big betting wagers. UFC is a little bit different, obviously, than regional shows, but soft limit's a soft limit in both worlds. So yeah, we don't need to spend any more time on this. Just know that Michael Chiesa is probably not coming down. He's just going to continue to go up.
I have an idea for your top line this week, but it's not in this fight. Lerryan Douglas takes on Julian Juicy J Erosa. Douglas, the minus 300 favorite to come back on Juicy J plus 250. I mean, it's pretty straightforward here in terms of like what can kind of happen. Lerryan Douglas hits like a ton of bricks. Juicy J's chin, very, very questionable. Juicy J's super, super long, tenured, has tons of experience. But if you pull the trigger on Juicy J or a Juicy J by sub, like you have to be like just go watch the Cam Teague knockout, and you're like, oh, that could totally happen to Julian Erosa in the first round. Like that is 100% on the table. Lerryan Douglas, former LFA champion. He's good, but like I don't know if he's like next level good. That knockout of Cam Teague was so violent. Like for a second there, I thought Teague was dead. Definitely a risk that that Juicy J is gonna have to deal with. And even in these fights that like he's not necessarily like he got knocked out in the first round by Alex Caceres. Padilla cracks, so like we'll give him a pass there. But like there's plenty of other fights over the course of his career that even though maybe he didn't get like knocked out,
No, Bobby McIntyre knocked him out.
He got super rocked. Like this fight is very, very like Lerryan Douglas. If you're gonna bet that side, like I'd be pretty surprised if Douglas wins, and it's not because he knocked him out. So you have like the minus 150-ish on the KO prop. There's like a round 1 prop for Douglas at like plus 155, 160, 191 is the best on market. Maybe I'm like influenced by YC Lindsay, who always has always
He's
been
made a lot of money on him
He's
over
been
the years.
Juicy J's biggest fan. Has tried to get us to bet him the entire time. I'm tempted to go, what if Lerryan doesn't knock him out, and start fishing for maybe some long sub props or something like that. Plus 714 on Erosa. Snatch up that darts, baby. Or you could just kind of hang out at range, kickbox. It's a dangerous game to be playing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hopping on the plus 250 right now. I'm gonna say dog or pass for the purposes of the show. It's possible I pass though. Where are you at with this fight?
Yeah, I almost came to the dogger pass conclusion myself and took just bit down and took some Julian Erosa, but I think I'm gonna favor here Lerryan Douglas, just like you said, to land the KO shot. The guy's a very violent power puncher. He's very fast. He's very explosive. He closes distance very quickly, and the way that Julian Erosa I always liken him to like Dominic Cruz on crystal meth. He's very jerky. He sets a lot of traps. He kind of baits his head into both sides. He's moving and grooving, but his hands are very, very low. He plays a very dangerous game of you can spark him. And to Paul's point, he's been sparked a many of times. The notable ones are the Bruce Leroys. The notable ones are the Fernando Padillas. Julio Arce knocked him out. Devontae Smith, remember him, UFC veteran? No, you don't. Nobody does. Nobody. 46 seconds. Bobby McIntyre was 5-4 on the regional scene, knocked him out in the first round. Teruto Ishihara, remember him? All the bitches loved him. And he knocked him out in the second round. Teruto Ishihara put down him. So you're looking at a guy in Julian Erosa that has 7 knockout losses, and he keeps his hands very low, and he kind of relies entirely on reaction time and speed to get him out of the way. Now he's 36 years old. None of that bodes particularly well. So to me, Douglas probably just does catch him at some point. Now, the argument for Erosa is definitely there in that you're looking at a Brazilian power puncher who's knocked out his last 4 or 5 opponents. Cam Teague's 30 seconds in the fight. Everything else is like in the second round. He's not been to the third round. He's not been to decision. So Julian Erosa has a deep gas tank. Julian Erosa is a savvy veteran. When you look at Lerryan Douglas, he's got 5 pro losses. 4 of them are inside the distance. He himself has been knocked out 59 seconds into the first round. He himself has been choked out by a first-round guillotine choke. Drum roll, please. Julian Erosa's best grappling move. Has a nasty guillotine choke. Erosa's coming off a 29-28 against Milk Costa in his last fight, where he won the third round.
He didn't look bad in that fight.
No, he didn't look bad at all. I had Milk Costa, and I'm sweating bullets because Julian Erosa, a guy that's easy to underestimate, does not fight like. He has the consistency of Ion Cutelaba. When he's not good, he's really not good. When he is good, he's capable of catching guys. And, that was the exact same point that you and I spoke about a couple weeks ago when Cutelaba fought C. It's like, well, he's a 50-50 guy. Yes, and you're getting plus money on him at 50-50. If he shows up in this fight, he cashes, it'll be good. Erosa's the same way. He can snatch up the guillotine. He can drag him into deeper waters. He's got really good punch output, so you might be able to, if you can avoid the power punch, just keep overall a higher output. He's also from the Pacific Northwest. I'm pretty sure Julian Erosa's from Yakima, Washington. So, yeah, I mean, listen, the crowd's going to be in his favor. They're going to be chanting USA. They're going to be chanting Juicy J and Juicy J USA all day. Why not jump into it? So that was the opinion I had last night. And then I went to bed. I'm lying in bed. Oh no. No. Bloodline Combat Sports. Oh no. Cub Swanson showing people how to fight. No. Danny Silva crushing my guy so empathetic fashion in the second round. Oh no. Curtis Campbell, no. I don't want to bet against these guys again. Cubs showing them some hot shit. And they're using it quite well. I mean, they do everything right. This kid's got big power, and that power should be on display. So, similar to his training partner, Danny Silva, last week, just look for him to be tight and technical, wait for Erosa to make the mistake, and then catch him. What I will leave you with, though, if you are a Juicy J guy, live bet him after the first. You either don't got to worry about it, you're unconscious, or if you can survive his biggest punches, if you can avoid most of those killer shots early, well, then that's a better indicator that in rounds 2 or 3, Erosa's volume will start to pick up. Maybe he gets his takedowns going. He had taken down Milk Costa a few times. No easy task. He's got that guillotine choke. He's got the pace. Does not have the durability, but he's got the ability to maybe go into deep waters if he can avoid getting punched out. But like many cases in this game, I've got the better fighter, but he has no durability. Then you don't have the better fighter. In Douglas's case, I just feel like he's going to land that kill shot at some point. So it's going to be a favorite. It's getting too wide. It's not where I want it to be. But if you're going to chase an under 1.5 or a Douglas by knockout, all that stuff seems like it's going to be on the table. And at some point on the parlay, Douglas will find himself slotted in somewhere, Paul.
It's hard for me to disagree too much. I'll probably play a little bit of Erosa sub and then play the live betting angle there. Don't get your head knocked off. Don't die early, and we'll see. Funny enough, though, it's like Juicy J goes to decision against Mel Costa, and then Mel Costa knocks out Dan Ige for the first time.
Well, that's the fight game in a nutshell. Yeah,
I can't believe you're like that's
Chiesa first round knockout. Lock it in. It's the fight game,
great.
baby.
And people, it's not so easy pre-flop to see these results. Sometimes it's just like there's, who was betting Mel Costa to beat or to knock out Dan Ige, particularly that early? Like,
I will be the first one to admit I lost a rather large parlay on the last leg being the over 2.5. I didn't care who won. Just it's a Dan Ige fight. It'll go over 2.5. And he actually hurt him in the first round, but it was like, okay, we'll get out of it. And then he spinning back kicked him in the face with I don't know. There's no time left on the clock. Those are the breaks of MMA. And the most durable guy gets knocked out by this guy, and somebody with no punching power knocks out that guy. Travis Luter knocked out Marvin Eastman once upon a time. There's no rhyme or reason, man.
No, and then you try to chase that result because you're like, his the chink is in the armor now. His chin is gone, and then they go on a stretch of not getting knocked out.
Drew Dober, Andrei Arlovsky. It's like, I think he's finally done, dude. And then he fights on a zillion more fights, and it's like, damn, this guy can get one hell of a punch. It's like the nervous system works in just incredibly weird ways.
The world, works in mysterious ways for sure. We got Mansur Abdul-Malik taking on Yousri Belgaroui. Pretty close to a pick'em, slight edge to Malik at the time of the recording, who's a minus 118 favorite. Early action has been on Yousri here after his pretty big upset win of Bakoev last time out. Much different opponent, somebody who can, I think, match his physicality in Mansur Abdul-Malik here. Do you have a hot take on this fight? I'm hesitant, but it's Abdul-Malik for me. I think he does get the wrestling going, and just being 6'4" and having that physicality, it's going to be a lot different than Bakoev, who's pretty undersized.
Yeah, I mean, those are all fair points. He's not 6'4", he's 6'2", but he has an 80-inch reach on him. And Belgaroui's 6'6" or something incredible. Big, tall guy. If it stays standing, you get the vaunted kickboxer beats him. So it's to your point, the wrestling. I mean, you got a guy here in Malik that wrestled University of Maryland, former college wrestler, decent enough wrestler, no big pedigree, but a guy that figures to have the wrestling advantage. The problem is that you don't really see him use it in his fights. Like against Wes Schultz on the Contender Series, he got taken down twice. Wes Schultz also wrestled in college, but it's like he had lost that battle against Dusko Todorovic. He just knocked him out. Against Nick Klein, he went 1 for 4 on takedowns on Nick Klein, and then he himself had given up one. Klein's a fast starter and a guy that has a wrestling pedigree, but I wouldn't say this guy's like some big NCAA D1 American who's going to be able to wrestle down everybody. It's that he's athletic. He has a wrestling base. He's only 28 years old. He trains at MMA Masters. It's on paper. That all sounds good. And it sounds good until he runs into Cody Brundage, where he's like a minus 900 favorite. Of course, everybody's on him, myself included. It's Cody Brundage. And for the first 2 rounds, he doesn't do anything. He shoots 0 takedowns, which is fair because Cody Brundage also wrestled in college. But what's not fair is that he just sits there and stares at him. You're nearly a 10-1 betting favorite. You're supposed to be an undefeated top prospect, and he just stares. Now in the 3rd round, he decides, you know what? It could be 1-1. Maybe I'm down 2-0. So in the 3rd round, he decides to let his hands go, and it is very much a headbutt that sends Cody Brundage down, and he gets announced as the winner, and then it ends up being a technical draw because it gets overturned, blah, blah, blah. It's a classic Cody Brundage performance, but you didn't look good against the guy that makes everybody look good. All the prospects walk through Cody Brundage and walk out with a highlight reel, and, you had a 3rd round headbutt leading to a stoppage, but prior to that, it looked very rudimentary. And then he beats Antonio Tricoli the next fight. But if you're going to constantly book a guy as a minus 900 favorite over Tricoli, a minus 900 favorite over Cody Brundage, a minus 650 favorite over Nick Klein, a minus 650 favorite over Dusko Todorovic, they're not testing him. He doesn't appear to be a vaunted striker. He has some natural power, but not enough to consider him a power puncher per se. His game plan of wrestling, he's effectively scored 2 takedowns in his last 5 fights. He's not really trying to get the fight to the ground. And then, hey, Bakoev took Belgaroui down 4 times. Is that when you take this guy down, he starts to just slash you with elbows. You know, if we're talking about kickboxing, he's a much better kickboxer. It's like, okay, well, who's he training with right now with his kickboxing? It's like Alex Pereira. He's one of Alex Pereira's chief sparring partners. It's like, okay, but where is he learning how to grapple? Glover Teixeira. It's like, okay, but can you take a slightly older kickboxer and show him some grappling and have him get really good? See, Alex Pereira. Yes, you can. Glover knows what he's doing here. And Belgaroui, when he was on the Contender Series the first time around, I was like, this guy don't look that good. He fights Marco Tulio, gives up 2 takedowns. Tulio mostly holds him down. Belgaroui is not going to be any good. Goes to Levels Fight League, wins their title, went 2-0 there, 2 nice stoppages. Back to the Contender Series, fought Tega Iwasaki, looked pretty good there. Comes in as a big underdog against Bakoev. Bakoev's, I don't know, I think he's Dagestani. Knows how to wrestle. He's more of a counter wrestler, but scores 4 takedowns. And it's all volume from Belgaroui. If in the 3rd round, this big 6'6" kickboxer looks fresh. He's a high volume guy. He's got long reach. He's got, if you're getting outstruck and outworked by Cody Brundage in the striking department, no doubt about it, Belgaroui is going to be outstriking you at range. So you have to use this college wrestling background. Just to me personally, 1, we've not seen him use it enough. 2, we've not seen him have to stick to it for 15 minutes without possibly tiring. And 3, even if he does take him down, if the guy on bottom is constantly throwing elbows, if the guy on bottom is constantly outworking you, that's what the judges are going to see. So Belgaroui's a slight underdog. It's Belgaroui all day for me. It's not going to be the easiest fight. Just he is the side in that I think he cashes at least 50% of the time, maybe 60% of the time. And they're giving you like plus 105 on him depending on your book. So yeah. He's still only 31. It's young for the weight class, but you're working with top guys. You're recruiting experience. Guys are capable of making improvements. And in Belgaroui's case, you can watch his last 5 fights and you will see improvement, good improvement, fight to fight. When you look at Mansur Al-Malik, I butchered that name, Mansur Abdul-Malik. When you look at him, I'm not seeing a whole lot of improvement fight to fight. Last but not least, the Tricoli standing guillotine. Maybe you take him down. He tries to get up. He's 6'6", dog. Go ahead. Try to stand guillotine him. See what happens. I'm taking the tall man to outpoint him.
All right. Moving on to the next fight. We got Terrance McKinney taking on Kyle Nelson. McKinney, minus 170 favorite. The comeback on Nelson is plus 145. But who cares about the money line in that fight? The total, 1.5, under 1.5. You just parlay this up with everything until the 1 week where you get absolutely exposed, overexposed, and flatlined. But it's McKinney week. This is the fight, Cody. This is what I'm saying when I said earlier. I'm like, I got your top line for you. What was Curtis Campbell's price last week? Minus 220, unproven. Making his UFC debut, minus 250. You have something that's literally never not hit. And Kyle Nelson has had some chin issues before. If you go onto Terrance McKinney's social media, he even makes jokes about himself that he is a 2-minute fighter at this point. He is going out there, he is trying to get a finish. I don't know what's going because this actually opened at minus 400, and I was just they're finally. I still would have had it parlayed it up a little bit, but it's somebody's either manipulating it. Or I don't know what's going on out there because people aren't actually betting an over 1.5 in a McKinney fight. There's no way that's happening. I think people are probably using highly limited accounts to just knock these numbers down, and then on Saturday, this will probably spark up again. Because it's a McKinney fight. McKinney doesn't get out of the first round pretty much ever, let alone out of the first 7.5 minutes. If you get out of the first 5 minutes with McKinney. He doesn't have 2.5 minutes left. I haven't seen it. Nelson. Nelson, but all of my investment will be in the under 1.5. Your thoughts here?
I got Kyle Nelson as well. When you watch Kyle Nelson, and I've had this discussion with people, it's like, what does he do? What is the pinnacle of his game? Is he an elite striker? No. Is he an elite wrestler? No. Is he an elite grappler? No. The guy's got heart, and he got that dog in him 100%. 100% this guy is there, committed to the cause, willing to do what needs to be done to get the win. Now, well, what about the durability issues? You're not wrong. But here's the thing about the durability issues. One, Steve Garcia knocked him out. Psycho Steve tends to do that to people. So I'm going to give him a flat pass on that one. Oh, okay. Didn't look terrible in the early going, and then Steve just mauled. Fair. Okay, well, he went the distance with Du Ho Choi. That counts for something. Jai Herbert, the guy that head kicked Tapuri and didn't knock him out, obviously, but he went the distance with him too. Billy Q knocked him out. Billy Q knocked him out in the third round. And when Billy Carantillo was at the top of his game, he was a cardio machine, man. He got you to the third round, you were screwed because he had a legitimate Rolls-Royce engine on him, man. He just never went away. Once he ran into his own durability issues, et cetera, he kind of got figured out. But that one went to the third round. He also got finished by Diego Ferreira on a fight that he took on short notice up a weight class against a really good guy. So when he loses, Matt Sales, third round submission, Billy Q, third round TKO, like you kind of got to put him through the paces first. The only guy that's finished him clean early is Steve Garcia. And again, Steve Garcia is now fighting on the White House card against Diego Lopes in a fight that he's like not that big of an underdog. When you look at that realistically, that's like the most competitive fight currently announced on that card by the lines. So yeah, Steve, he can do some big stuff. I think if you look at Kyle Nelson on the idea that he's chinny, I think you got to beat him up for 10 minutes and then you might be able to put him away. Whereas as we know with McKinney, and you just did an excellent job of illustrating it, the guy's a 2-minute man. He's not going to last much longer than that. The guys that he's able to finish very quickly, although they're not all bad, I rate a win over Matt Frovola. I seriously rate a win over Faraz Zayam. But, Eric Gonzalez, Mike Breeden, Brandon Marat, Demir Hadzovic, they're not all bad. Vladislav Borch has another nice one, but it is who he is. He's got to finish you as quick as humanly possible versus a guy in Kyle Nelson that's been finished once in the last 5 years, that being Steve Garcia. I think he maybe lasts the first 2 or 3 minutes and then he takes over. Matt Frovola, that's Kyle Nelson's last opponent. Matt Frovola, he's a big power puncher. Dude knocked out Drew Dober in the first round. He comes at you, and he did try to come at Kyle Nelson, but Nelson does an excellent job of backing out, allowing you to get too over-aggressive, and then countering you. The second you start to slow down, he hits back. He's got more than enough power to knock out Terrance McKinney, and then his grappling's good enough that if he can get out of the first round, he may just end up on top, able to land some ground and pound, open something up. So it's Kyle Nelson for me, too. And then I will leave you with this greasy theory, which I'll cut out of the TV version because ain't nobody want to hear that on a wide audience. But listen, straight up, Kyle Nelson, longtime training partner, and he corners Diana Belbita. Diana Belbita used to fly to Las Vegas to sleep with Terrance McKinney. Diana Belbita's got inside information of what it's like to be under Terrance McKinney, and she also knows all about how he only has 2 minutes in him. That's going to be really good insight for Kyle Nelson. That's probably going to be on his back for the first 2 minutes. And then after that, we're money here, Paul Shaughnessy. Money. So Kyle Nelson for me, brother.
Diana Belbita. She's working for Sportsnet now, right?
She's married to Cameron Van Camp. Not Cameron Van Camp. Cameron Van Camp. UFC veteran, went 0-2. Dude, that's the biggest win of his career. So congrats all around. They're both good people. The whole team's good people. Job at Sportsnet, 100%. She's pretty. She's a fighter. English is like her, I was going to say third language, but likely it's her second language. And yet she's making a career out of now broadcasting. So she's an overachiever, Diana Belbita. Good on her. Hope she continues to do her thing. But in the meantime, her buddy Kyle Nelson is going to have to get a little bit of revenge on her behalf. And I think he's going to do that.
Yeah. McKinney got the first round finish against the only one last thing I want to say. Got the first round finish against Frivola. And let's face it, Kyle Nelson also got a first round finish
You're not
against
wrong.
Frivola because Mergliata was on something that night.
Under 1.5 guys got absolutely poached for sure. And I was thinking about you last weekend. You had the Mason Jones by knockout at plus 450. And there's only 14 seconds left in the fight, but he's nailing him with knee after knee. Sola's hunched over like this. Sola's just eating it. It's like, why not just wave this thing off? And no. He's not.
And you get other fights. You get other fights that get waved off super quickly. That's just the nature of the.
That's the nature of the
nature of the game. But sometimes it feels like all of the bad luck is going on at the same time. It's not a fun situation to be in. But
I'd love, even though you can't fix poor MMA judging and you can't fix poor MMA officiating, it would be very nice if they released pre-flop. Herb Dean is reffing this one, and Dan's doing this one. A local guy is going to do this one, and Saul D'Amato is judging this one, and this one. Then if Saul D'Amato is judging Lerryan Douglas versus Julian, I don't care. I don't think it's going that far. If Dan Mergliata is officiating, or it's Saul D'Amato and Chris Lee, and they're judging Amanda Grasso or Alexa Grasso versus Maycee Barber, then at least you would know going into it, it's going to likely go to decision, and I need to rely on bad judges. Instead, it's like you don't know until all of a sudden they're like, Kuiji Kamijo scores it. You're like, oh no, Saul D'Amato, oh no. Yeah, like they just, it's not like any of them are good, but
do you think that would just open it up to like more rigging though?
You know what I noticed?
If people knew well in advance of the judges that they could contact to help aid their large wagers along, it could make the problem that they have right now even worse. That would be my only reason for why they keep that stuff secret.
What I would say is, we watch, we cover a lot of like LFA from California, or a lot of these California regionals on the Bookie Beatdown Discord and Patreon, right? So we do the regional stuff over there. We'll cover these shows from California. When you go to California, they're like, and the referee in charge is Frank Trigg. The referee in charge is Paul Buentello. The referee in charge is Vladimir Matyashenko. These guys are all UFC title challengers. Paul Buentello fought Andrei Arlovsky for the belt. Matyashenko fought Tito, I believe, for the belt. He might have fought Tim Silva. It doesn't matter. He fought for the belt. He also fought John Jones in a non-title affair, but Matyashenko's the man. Frank Trigg fought Matt Hughes for the belt. So now these guys are now reffing and they're judging. So we watched that wonky-ass LFA fight the other day, and the dude's in a triangle choke, and Frank Trigg calls it off. And the guy's like, what are you doing? And then the announcers are like, oh, what's going on here? And then they show the replay, and this guy's hands under his ass. He's tapping. Well, Frank knew because he knows what he's looking at. That's what the UFC has to get to. And then you may be in a situation where you're like, this guy, it's Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz is judging. I'm just using it as a random example. Well, Dominic Cruz doesn't like Cub Swanson, and Cub Swanson's student is fighting. Well, then you can't have, there's a conflict of interest. If you fight around the game, you may like this guy, not like those guys. There are conflict of interest. I get it. But when the sport first happened, you needed guys like Cecil People and Herb Dean. Herb Dean fought. He's got half a dozen low-level cage rage fights, but he had fought. You look at these Saul D'Amatos, well, he's a boxing guy. And they take this other guy. This guy's a judo guy. They take Mark Smith. Well, Mark Smith's a martial artist. He does this and this, but none of them are mixed martial artists. I got one guy wrestled, and one guy did jiu-jitsu, and one guy was a striker. And those three guys are giving their opinion on what's going on. Well, one guy favors striking. He's a striker. One guy favors wrestling. Nothing's happening, but those are two real nice takedowns. I'm scoring them. One guy, he sees the guy's getting punched in the face and got taken down, but hey, he's throwing up submission attempts. He's got an active guard. They're all looking at something different. You need to modernize it. How old are all the judges? Herb's in his 60s, right? 59 or 58, 59. Mergliata's not in his 60s, but he's mid-50s. Saul D'Amato is like 70. They've been judging the sport consistently bad for 20 years. Like, at what point is this not just a government position? These people need to get phased out and bring in new blood. But I don't know if you're familiar with politics, it just like judging, that's not how it works. The older you get, the more power you get. The more power you get, you're not getting unseated from your position. And meanwhile, guys that are a lot more fit for the job are never going to get a crack at it, right? So can you fix MMA judging? No, but tell me who's going to blow my ticket for me this week before I go and put any type of confidence. There's some fights you just know are going to decision. You do, right? It's like Grasso Barber. It's going to decision. Belgaroui versus Malik is highly likely going to decision. Musayev versus Bahamondes probably going to decision. Hooper versus Gibson may go to decision. This card's a little more violent than your average card. Just you know which ones are likely to hit the scorecards. At least, give me. Do I want to bet this card a significant amount, knowing it's going to decision, and then knowing I have to have faith in these 2 or 3 terrible judges? At least let me know in advance. But I hear you. Then the Mafia would be like, hey, we know this one's going to decision and your name's down as doing it. So here's what we want you to do. You make a great point there.
They probably field more phone calls for sure. That would be whether it would increase or decrease. There would be more opportunity, I suppose, out there for people to know who they have to contact to help get their wager to the finish line, allegedly.
Gangster disciples, allegedly.
I mean, not even allegedly. It's
it happens in every
We can't even say it's allegedly anymore.
Yeah, right. If Chauncey Billups is willing to do that, then they're all willing to do that because
that's one thing that
on the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, like you didn't need to fix a couple college ball and NBA games, did you? I don't know.
Judging is the one that hasn't really been tipped off yet, though, right? So they don't really have any sort of platform. Nobody really knows. Like, how do you get in contact with Sal D'Amato? I don't know.
Sal, I feel like people could get a hold of. But to your point, yes, if you knew this week we've got Kyle Nelson is on board. I don't know, that one's not going to decision. So if you knew this week that we've got Maycee Barber on board to throw this thing, it's like, well, okay, well, she's going to lose more of the rounds than not. Unless she's playing against subbed or knocked out. I don't think so. You deliver a bad performance. I don't know. Actually, everything I think doesn't matter. Belgaroui flat out just was like, I will shoot the world's worst takedown, and then I will give up my back, and then I will refuse to fight the hands and just tap out. If you want to be that obvious, sure. But more likely, you just don't throw a whole lot of punches, and you don't follow up on your opponent, and you don't sit down on anything, and you don't fight off the takedown that much, and you just go through the motions. Then, yes, if you knew ahead of time, these are the judges on that fight, and we know that this fight, our fighter is going to mail in an average performance and lose, then just get the judges on the same board. But if it's randomly generated, then I got Judge X is agreed to do this job and the fight doesn't go to decision, then what? Did you still have to pay the guy? Like, I get where you're coming from. And sometimes we like to put the tinfoil hat and overthink it, but it's, it's 98% legit. It's 99% legit, but of course that 1% exists.
Grasso Barber would be a good fight if you're going to call up. Be like, hey, these rounds are probably going to be close. So just give every round to X, whoever X is, whoever you're trying to bet.
Yeah.
That would be the move. It's kind of like how Charles Johnson got a 30-27 on a card like 2 weeks ago. Nobody else except for whoever that judge was had that scorecard. But I digress, and we move on to Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Tofiq Musayev. Bahamondes is a -300 favorite to come back on Musayev, plus 250. Your thoughts here?
I'm really split on this one, man. As you know, we've been doing this show for a long time. I rock with Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a guy that, and I always preach it, he's 6'3" at 155 pounds. Like, it's just an anomaly. On top of that, he averages over 6.5 strikes landed per minute. Like, he's a volume machine. He being that tall, and also he's South American, so he can take one hell of a punch. And he just continues to deliver front kicks up the middle, nice leg kicks, head kicks, jabs, straight rights. He's an absolute human tornado of offense. His thing, though, is that your gift is also your curse. And being a 6'3" lightweight, he doesn't seem to have center of gravity is just way too high. The guys get to his hips and then they're able to take him down. That's been the common denominator in the fights that he's winning versus the fights that he's losing. Now, in his last fight, he takes on Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev, similar in ways to Tofiq Musayev, is an Azerbaijani striker.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to strike with a guy who's 6'3", very, very long, as a 75-inch reach, which is not super long for 6'3", but because of his height and he's punching downwards, and he's averaging 6.5 strikes landed per minute. So what do? You take him down. It's not so much that Fiziev got the 4 takedowns. It's that Fiziev went 4 for 4 on takedowns. He's not a wrestler, and yet every time he wanted a takedown, he got it. The striking in that fight is pretty competitive. It's close. And so what he does is he strikes the first 3 minutes, the last 4 minutes, and then just gets these late takedowns with a little bit of control time, gets him the rounds, gets him the win. You roll back and you check out his fight with Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein is 5'7". Ludovic Klein has fought at 145 pounds. Ludovic Klein takes him down 3 times and racks up 6.5 minutes of control time with those takedowns. So, yeah, if you're Christos Giagos, Manuel Torres, Jalen Turner is a triangle choke, a little bit different. If your game plan is to come and strike with this guy, yeah, good luck, because he does have a hell of a chin. He's got really high output. He's got 15 minutes of cardio all day long, and he's got really wonky proportions. So it's going to be a problem. If you can mix in those takedowns, he is not a minus 300 favorite. He is a Daniel Zellhuber type where he looks like a good prospect, but there are ways to exploit him. And when he gets exploited, he does not look good. Tofiq Musayev has the reputation of obviously being an Azerbaijani power puncher. His best wins are him striking. But you watch some of his fights in Ryzen, Koji Takada, more notably his fight with Patricio Pitbull. The guy 100% knows how to wrestle. He is trying to catch kicks. He's trying to take you down. The problem is that he's really low volume, man. Like, there's people want to talk about how bad of a fight MVP was on this past weekend. You watch back him versus Alexander Shabili, where the first 2 rounds, neither guy throws a single strike. The third round, Shabili kicks him. It's a body kick, but he definitely strays down and hits him in the groin. Musayev can't continue, and they give Shabili the win. So, yeah, on paper, he got TKO due to a body kick, but it's not a really legitimate knockout loss. He didn't really look bad in that fight. It was pretty competitive, but striking, he just doesn't do anything. The difference is Shabili's a really good wrestler, so you're not going to try to go wrestle him. Fights against Mikolai Orlbai. What are you going to take him down? Are you going to wrestle him? No. Even going back to his fight with Roberto Souza or his fight with a couple of these guys. They're Sydney Outlaw knocked him out before the fight really started, but those guys are all really good grapplers, really good wrestlers. He's been in the same ring with good guys. And I think that for the most part, when you're taking on Sydney Outlaw, I don't want to wrestle with him. When I'm taking on Alexander Shabili, I'm not looking to wrestle him. When I'm taking on Roberto Satoshi Souza, I'm not looking to wrestle with him. Against Ignacio Bahamondes, brother, if you've got that ability, you've got that skill in your back pocket, this is the time to bring it out. He looked good against Patricio Pitbull and took him down 4 or 5 times. He's got a good reactionary shot. He's got a good single leg. He's physically strong. I would say takedowns are on the table. And if takedowns are on the table, plus he's not a bad striker and he's got decent power punching abilities, you hit him 3 or 4 times, but he sits down on one and then gets that takedown. This thing possibly looks way closer than a minus 300 would suggest. So every week I sit here and I give you all the reasons why you should take a big underdog and then say, but I don't got the cojones. I have to do it this week, Paul. I have to. I didn't do it on Julian Erosa. I pulled out on Julian Erosa before the waters got cold and iced over for the winter. And I ain't pulling out a Tofiq. I know that sounded really strange and weird. So let's forget I said that. I am going all in. No, I actually am not going all in. Small play on Tofiq Musayev. The line's way too wide. And I think, again, if he does start to wrestle in this fight, you're going to start seeing it being a lot more competitive than this minus 300. Seeing how good Orlbai looked his last time out against Chris Curtis, maybe you can give Tofiq Musayev, ever so slight of a pass. He came in because it was in Azerbaijan.
0 days. It was super short notice as well for that.
Super short notice, A. B, they made it at a 165 catch weight, and he came in at 163 because he's not a 165 guy, taking on Orlabai, who now fights at 170. And then on top of that, now for this fight, 155, full training camp to fight Samuel Sanchez. Ignacio Bahamondes is coming in on short notice.
Yeah.
And he's a 3-1 favorite. So it's not for me, man.
The Samuel Sanchez kid who, had a nice finish. Like, they were giving him another winnable fight. That Sanchez kid, he has a nice win on Contender Series, a knockout win, but I don't know if he has a depth of a game. He definitely is lacking in a high level experience against a guy like Tofiq. So I don't know what the line was on that, but I mean, you make a lot of good points. I haven't really known Musayev to wrestle all that much, but if you bet him, if you take the plus 250 pre-flop and you see him shoot immediately, you'll be feeling pretty good about it. Because I mean, over and over we see it. Ignacio is just too tall. It's too tall to defend takedowns at 155 pounds. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, well, if you were to be watching this fight and then be
he does have some nice submissions off of his back though, with those long legs, like he did against Jalen Turner.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. And then Turner retired right after, and now he's back. And I'll admit, and you know this, Paul, Ignacio, my guy. But if there's anybody that's been burnt by Ignacio, it is myself. And the Fiziev fight, I touted how you watch. Fiziev is going to lose the striking exchanges. And Fiziev is like, why bother? I'm just going to take him down. The 4 for 4 for a guy that's using a secondary skill is concerning. Musayev, many of the same things. And then if you want to just make jokes about it, they're both Azerbaijani strikers. They both have an EV last name. And if you were to find out, hey, turns out Tofiq Musayev does know how to grapple, would anybody be shocked?
No.
His name is Tofiq Musayev from Azerbaijan. Of course he does. Those jokes aside, is that he's almost a 30-fight veteran. He's fought for Bellator. He's fought for Ryzen. He's fought half a dozen guys better than Ignacio Bahamondes. And this does present a good winnable opportunity. He looks so bad in his debut, people are writing him off. But that's a fight on 2 days' notice, up a weight class against a giant of a man who is looking to take you down. Ignacio's not looking to take you down. So if the best path of victory for Musayev is out-grapple him, he doesn't really got to worry about that here. That allows him to get comfortable and get his own game going, which is sit down on punches, low volume, I don't love, but sit down on punches, land the big right hand, cut the distance, get on those legs, toss them to the ground. Being so long, you throw up triangles, you throw up arm bars. Being so long, when triangles and arm bars don't stick, you're too big to just create big explosive space and get back up. Why did Ludovic Klein have 6.5 minutes of control time? Because Ludovic Klein's a short, stumpy guy at 5'7", taking on the guy that's 6'3". You can't create the space necessary to get back up. The guy's like a little tree stump on you. He's a little boulder on you. Musayev is not 5'7", but the same thing goes. You need to control this guy. Yes, he's been triangled before. Roberto Souza in Ryzen. That's the best triangle guy in the game. So if you felt that before, you're going to feel this one coming from a mile out. Stuff it. Stuff him. Land some ground and pound. Get the win.
Chase Hooper takes on Lance Gibson Jr. Chase Hooper minus 270 favorite to come back on Gibson plus 230. Who you got here, buddy?
Well, I also had a bad dream last night. Bit of a nightmare that, similar to last week. It's like everyone was laughing. You guys are picking Curtis Campbell, who looks like this, over Danny Silva, who looks like that. It's like, yeah, you guys watch. The nerd's going to come through. And then did not come through. Those are the vibes of Chase Hooper. On one hand, I think Chase Hooper is more experienced than Lance Gibson. He's a better prospect than Lance Gibson. He's a better fighter than Lance Gibson. But when you see both of these guys and you do the sniff test, Lance Gibson is like a genetic freak, man. The guy's jacked. His daddy, Lance Gibson Sr., fought in the UFC. His stepmama, Juliana Budd, is, not his real mom and never fought in the UFC, but she's Julia Budd, dude. She was legit. She was a Bellator champion, fought all the top girls, and is just an absolute physical specimen. This guy's been surrounded by top training partners, top teams. Although he's from BC and he reps Canada, he has spent a lot of time in Washington. Washington is kind of his turf, and he's going to have a lot of fans in attendance willing to support him for this fight. I think if you look them side by side, there's no doubt Lance Gibson is more physical. He should be able to stuff the Chase Hooper takedowns. Therefore, you're now standing, and the guy's big, jacked, powerful. He lands some shots on Hooper, who we've seen hurt before, coming off a loss to Alexander Fernandes, who knocked him out in the first. People will remember the Steve Garcia fight once upon a time. 3 knockdowns leading to a first-round knockout. Can Chase Hooper stand and strike with Lance Gibson for a prolonged period of time? It doesn't sound like the kind of fight you want to overly invest in, but yeah, I'm not into narratives as much as I'm into who I think is going to win based on some narrative and some factual and some stats. And what do you see when you're looking at it? My issue with Lance Gibson is he had his first amateur fight at 17. He turned pro at 21. He signed with Bellator at 22. And yet they slow tripped him the whole way through. He's not that good. He was never fighting the top guys in Bellator. He was never fighting the top prospects in Bellator. He's fighting, guys of a far lesser ilk. Dominic Jones, 2-2. Marcus Surin, 6-2, who's no good. Raymond Pina, Nangyong Dung, Noah Dung from AKA. Dominic Clark, 15-12. That was the level he was at. When he lost to Vladimir Tokov, right? Tokov hit him with a jab and he folded to the ground in a minute. They cut him after that. He was like 6-1 in Bellator. They had not given him any steps up. They finally gave him a fringe top 15 guy, and he got power jabbed in the first minute of the fight, knocked out. He rebounds by fighting 19-42 Sharon Spain and RJ Hoyt. And now you're in the UFC. Well, here's the thing. You're 31 years old. You've been fighting professionally for 10 years. You were a Bellator washout. They didn't have a spot for you. PFL opted not to take your contract over. Now the UFC says, bring him in and fight Bobby Green. It's a weird fight. And on paper, they'll say, hey, it's a split decision. He did not look good in this fight. Yeah, he gasped, but it was short notice. I'll give him a pass on that one. But he's very low volume. He doesn't throw a whole lot. Yeah, he's big and physical, but he knows how to conserve himself, and he conserves himself a little too much. In terms of the takedowns, Bobby Green took him down, which Bobby Green's not really the biggest wrestling threat. But more important is that Lance Gibson got 2 takedowns good for a minute, whereas Bobby Green got the 1 takedown in the second round and then was able to gather up like 44, 45 seconds of control time. This is Bobby Green. Essentially, I know it's 2-1 in the wrestling, and I thought Bobby Green out-wrestled him. I thought Bobby Green outstruck him. And Bobby did that entirely with his hands below his waist, walking forward, flexing on this guy, being like, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. And Gibson just sits there unwilling to engage with him. Now, Bobby is a very tenured vet. So I don't mean to say, dude, you didn't look good in a UFC debut on short notice against Bobby Green. It's not an easy task. So because it's a split decision, I feel like people are more inclined to be like, hey, this guy's now got a full camp and he's not fighting Bobby Green. He'll be much better. I don't think he's going to be any better. I don't think he's gotten any better over the last 5 years. I think he's got durability issues of his own. I think he's got cardio issues. He doesn't thrive in any one area. When you watched him in Bellator, he was more of a grappler. The problem there is that Chase Hooper is a better grappler. How you beat Chase Hooper is you stand him up and you knock him out. And Gibson's not really that big of a power puncher. Gibson's not really that big of a volume guy. And it's completely discrediting to Chase Hooper's own striking, where Chase Hooper knocked down Vyacheslav Borishev. Was Borishev not a better striker? Chase Hooper was winning the striking exchanges and outpointing Alexander Fernandes before getting caught and getting knocked out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it didn't happen. It did. But he can strike. His volume's better than Gibson's. His ground game is better than Gibson's. He's a tenured UFC veteran of his own at this point. He's much younger. He's filling out his frame. I just don't see enough killer instinct out of Gibson. The way to beating Hooper is not to outpoint him or to do a little bit more than he's doing. Is you take this guy out. Gibson's not a violent finisher. He's more of a methodical approach guy, and that ain't going to work here. So I know it's not, he's the favorite, so you can't say it's not the popular pick this week. I see a lot of love for Gibson, and I don't want to say I'm over the moon on Chase Hooper, but for me, yes, it's going to be a Chase Hooper play. I get the physicality. I get that if this is a bar fight, there'd be no question who we're going to be favoring in a civilian versus civilian fight where one guy looks like Lance Gibson Jr. and one guy looks like Chase Hooper. Of course. But this is the fight game where anybody can be something. Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what your body type is. You make it work to your advantage. And Hooper's a guy that I do still believe has upside. A few years from now, you're not going to be saying, well, Alexander Fernandes had won 4 in a row. And geez, Steve Garcia's ended up being a big power puncher. He doesn't lose to schlubs. Gibson is a Bellator schlub now masquerading in the UFC. So yes, it's gonna be young Chase Hooper to get the job done, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Chase Hooper's kind of always a bit of an enigma because, like, let's face it, the fight against Borshev, his hands looked great. Like his hands, the kicks, he knocked Borshev down. It was supposed to have a massive kick. It was weird. It's like he beat Borshev at his own game in that fight and didn't even really try to grapple all that much. He did end up getting the submission win, but it's like the first round of that fight, it's like it was all kickboxing and using that length. He should be able to use that length here. I'm not a Gibson guy either, so it is Chase Hooper for me. Yeah, just watching the Bobby Green fight back, I didn't see a UFC level fighter, to be perfectly honest. I saw Bobby could have really put it on him in that fight, but like Bobby was doing Bobby things where he's just kind of like messing around and doing the old flicking off the dust off of his shoulder and stuff like that. Like Bobby messed around a whole bunch, almost as he does sometimes. It's like he could have definitely put his stamp way more on that fight. But he was kind of trying to humiliate Gibson for whatever reason. Chase Hooper.
Bobby is Bobby Green, right? It's hard to say. It's hard to say what goes on in these guys' heads. Like remember Chase Hooper 2 fights back, him versus Jim Miller, and he gets 8 takedowns over Jim Miller, who wrestled in college. He easily out grapples Jim Miller, who's a BJJ black belt. The whole time it's like, it's Jim Miller. I just don't want to hurt him. Who doesn't love Jim Miller? And he said afterwards, I was gooning too much. And that was code for I was gooning too much. And that I also respect Jim Miller as a human being and wish not to hurt him. Against Lance Gibson coming off a loss, you get these positions on the ground, you'll see a more violent Chase Hooper, and that should be enough.
Yep. Moving on down, we've got Tyrell Fortune making his UFC debut. He's taking on Marcin Tybura. Fortune, a minus 135 favorite. Tybura can be had for plus 115. I'm struggling with this one big time. One, I did go back and watch Fortune's fights since he was released from Bellator, or was allowed to leave from PFL / Bellator, whatever that was going. I mean, a 52-year-old Tony Lopez, like, okay.
53, I think.
And then that DeMario Davis fight was like somewhat competitive. Like it wasn't.
DeMario weighed 286 pounds. Is how bad shape he was in.
Yeah. He had his titties had titties.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, it was funny. Like the on that broadcast, they're like, it says 286, but like this is supposed to be heavyweight. They're like, did they allow that to happen? It was like Tyrell's probably just like, I'm fighting this idiot today. Sure. My problem with Tybura is that one, like, he's 40 years old at this point, and when he does get finished, it's in the first round. The last 3 times he's been finished, it's all Aspinall, Spivak, Delia, kind of just guys coming forward, bombing on him. Even the park and win is like very, very, very greasy, close type of fight. I just don't know what Marcin has left in the tank. He used to have like that head kick, right? Like,
oh yeah,
he had a bit of like. Now I really don't see any of that dynamism that we used to see in his game. He's not going to win the wrestling exchanges. It's going to be a very on the feet. It's going to be kind of nip or tuck, and maybe Fortune has the better power at this point in the game. And Tybura's durability seems to be getting away from him. I've bet Tybura a whole bunch, mixed results over the years. I just don't know if I can get to it this week. Can you talk me out of Tybura into Fortune? Do you have a hot take on this fight? Because I'm really struggling with this. My mind is saying low-level heavyweights take the plus money on Tybura. It's probably going to be a greasy fight that may even go to decision. But my heart is saying like, Marcin's kind of dust, and he's broken you multiple times now. And Delia just kind of marched forward and just like ran over him. It was not a good look. Where are you at with this fight?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Marcin at 40, he's in this point in his career where he is as untrustworthy as it gets. I think because he's fighting at heavyweight and everybody's a big guy, everybody is a power puncher of sorts, that, most guys are probably going to be able to knock him out in the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes. By the way, Gabby barking, and I'm on board because I'm taking the dog to Tybura as well.
She stormed down here during Lance Gibson as well, but then she didn't bark.
Well, then that's a positive sign because you could take the anti-Bellator parlay this week. It would be Ignacio Bahamondes, Chase Hooper, and Marcin Tybura, and it got a pretty good chance of coming through. Now, I'm not taking it because I am going to take that shot of Musayev all the way at the bottom of the PRP. I do love Ignacio. I'm a little bit worried about the price tag. But for the other two, you're getting guys that were fanned out of Bellator. Like in Marcin Tybura's case, he was 13-2 in Bellator. And when PFL purchased it, they allowed him to compete twice and then cut him. It's heavyweight. Everybody needs heavyweights, and yet not interested. He's 35 years old, so he's not, by heavyweight standards, he's not old, but he's not a prospect. He wrestled at Grand Canyon University back in the day, but he's not exactly the biggest wrestler, but highest credentialed. He is Waldo Cortez Acosta's wrestling coach. They train together at Arizona Combat Club. He's getting some okay work. But I just don't think it's for him. He's an athlete who can wrestle, who made a career out of beating lumbering, unathletic guys that folded over. Every time they gave him a real step up in competition, he folded. And what I mean by that is he fought Tim Johnson, his first career loss. He was a minus 800 favorite over Tim Johnson. He got knocked out in the first round. He was a minus 200 favorite over Linton Vassell, a 40-year-old light heavyweight, and he lost that as well. He was a favorite, minus 300 favorite over Daniel James, and then he proceeded to get knocked out in the second round. He was a slight favorite over Sergey Bellastini and was also on his way to getting knocked out in the first round, but they deemed it punches at the back of the head, and he got a disqualification win instead. His last loss to Sergey Bellastini in the rematch, he kind of like the heel hook's half on, and he's already screaming on at top of his lungs. I hate to be the one to say it because I'm a guy sitting on a couch right now who's not accomplished a 20-fight career, who's not accomplished a college wrestling career. It's hard to say that a guy lacks heart, but Tyrell Fortune lacks heart. He also lacks cardio. He's fast for a heavyweight. He's explosive for a heavyweight. If you can get him to a second and the third round, he generally starts to fall off. Once he falls off, he's very prone to quitting on himself. Now, he's won 3 in a row. Well, it's Myron Dennis. For the record, Myron Dennis had got knocked out in 2 minutes by Julius Walker, who fights in the UFC at 205. And yet, he went a round and a half. We got made it to the second round against Tyrell Fortune. Tony Lopez, 53 years old. Demario Dennis is Myron Dennis's brother, right? And he weighed 286 pounds for the fight. He's fought once in the last 2.5 years. So to say, well, he went to the third round against Dennis and he went to the second round against Myron, his brother, and no, I don't think that's my cardio is any better. I'm not exerting myself because I'm fighting guys that are not on my level. So the UFC doesn't straight up sign this guy. This fight's Marcin Tybura versus Walter Walker, okay? Walter Walker pulls out with an injury, and heavyweight's very thin. And this guy's 17-3. He's a free agent. And of course he wants to fight in the UFC. He's getting paid $3,000 to fight on the regional scene. He's working a full-time job. He's 35 years old. Making money in MMA is in the rearview mirror. 15 fights in Bellator, never made no money. 2 fights in PFL, fanned right out. Career opportunity of a lifetime. So you take it. So the first 5 minutes, he's going to be able to give Marcin Tybura hell. Because like you said in the Deontay fight, Delia, you can maybe just walk in, shuffle uppercut, really sting this guy, get him up against the cage, land shots. Not only that, Mick Parkin, only credited with 1 takedown, actually got 2. One of them is a caught kick. And as soon as he catches the kick and gets on top, he ground and pounds Tybura pretty good. Second one is the laziest double leg off the cage you'll ever see. And Tybura just flops over to his side. So there's no doubt about it that Tyrell Fortune will likely take him down in the first round and will win the first round. This thing gets out of the first round, you live bet Marcin Tybura because he's very slow and chinny at this point. But the longer these fights go, He has got heart for days, and he finds resolve. Paul mentioned McParkin. McParkin, first round's pretty close. Second round, McParkin all day long. The third round, Tybura lands like 30 significant strikes, comes forward, tries to get a takedown of his own, pushes the whole time. There's other good examples of him beating, say, Jonathan Deniz. Jonathan Deniz won the first round on all 3 judges' scorecards. Second round, he starts to tire. Tybura takes him down, TKOs him. His fight with Blagoy Ivanov, awful. Longer it goes. They're both really slow now. He takes it over. His fight with Alexander Romanov, majority decision, beat up in the first round. Romanov tires out, Tybura takes over. Walt Harris, Greg Hardy, very big explosive athletes. Weather the early storm, get them into the second round. Walt Harris was late in the first, but Greg Hardy was into the second round. Take him down, put him away. He's dealt with guys that are faster, more explosive, stronger than him a lot, and he relies on you gassing out, and he can take over. That's Tyrell Fortune. Tyrell Fortune is faster, more explosive, likely hits harder in the first 5 minutes. He's on short notice. He's never had great durability or not great cardio. And once the moment starts to pass him by, he doesn't lose around and come back. He doesn't almost get finished and come back. Once that snowball starts heading down the hill, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until he looks for the way out. But I absolutely recognize that this is a bet where you're going to either look like an idiot because your guy got knocked out in the first round, or you're going to look like $1 million. I told you so. And there's 2 other fights on this card the same way. Kyle Nelson and Israel Adesanya. All 3 of these guys might be getting iced in the first 5 minutes. If we can get out of that first 5 minutes, they should be taking over. And that's why live bets are always a great way of approaching this thing. Especially if you have a good, you're watching the fights. I can't say watching it on TV. TV's like 15 seconds delayed now. Like if you are watching it as up to date as possible, you got the read, you got the vibe. Live betting is always a great opportunity. And in the case of guys like Fortune who are short notice and have a history of doing this, if the fight just gets out of the first, you're going to get a better number. You're already getting plus money. Drop the first round, you're going to be getting plus 225. That's where he's going to take over. So it is a pre-fight flop for Tybura. It's a live bet after the first round if I'm still conscious. And if I'm not conscious, don't worry about it. PRP burns up, unfortunately. But in terms of straight plays, it's something that you're looking to back heavily, not, a couple bucks on a 13-leg parlay. Tybura should be live after that first. He's just got to get past the first. So ever so slightly, 2 middling heavyweights, Paul. It's dog or pass. And for that reason, it's going to be the Polish powerhouse, Marcin Tybura, to reel in a vintage performance where he gets his ass kicked for 5 minutes and then finds a way to get his hand raised.
All right. So I'm ready to hurt again with Tybura, but I don't know if I'm going to do a pre-flop, to be perfectly honest.
Take the live bet. Good spot.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always in play for that. Moving on down. We got King Casey taking on Gabriella Fernandes. It's a straight pick 'em, homie. Who you got?
So it's probably going to cost me a bunch of money, but I feel like Casey O'Neill probably goes out there and handles business. She looked like a pretty good prospect a few years ago where she's young and she's dynamic and she's got a good attitude. And, she really is a lifelong martial artist. Her dad was a fight fan. She used to tell stories about how she would parade around the living room with a robe on, claiming to be Phil Baroni. Story didn't age very well, if you know about Phil Baroni. But point being is that she grew up watching the sport. She grew up wanting to compete. And it looked like, to me, she was going to be a pretty decent enough prospect. Win over Laura Procopio. Didn't look good in the first round, but definitely made it happen after that. Antina Shevchenko. They're not big quality wins, but of course, Valentino's sister, Shayna Dobson, Roxanne Modafferi. The Roxanne Modafferi one, 229 significant strikes landed. This is somebody that's going to grow into form. But here's where the UFC has 2 routes they can take you. If you're a legitimate prospect, they can take you the route of building you up, right? You may face a tough fight. The split decision over Roxanne Modafferi. Why it was a split, I could not tell you. But one judge saw fit to give it to Roxanne. So this is not a prospect that's willing to fight for the belt right away. Take them, nurture them, build them up. Or you throw them in there against title challengers. And that's what they decided to do against her, with her, giving her Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia's rock solid, shoot to box, flat-footed and plodding, but just loads up on strikes, has volume for days, has fought for a world title. These are not the type of fights that maybe Casey O'Neill should have taken at that point. She loses to Jennifer Maia. And then they give her Ariana Lipski, and she gets subbed. And then it looks like she's the world's biggest bust. But taking the year and a half off, the getting back to the drawing board, the working on your other skills. I think when you're a young athlete, you can come back and make improvements. She looked like she had skill. It's that sometimes it's not a quick road to the title. Sometimes you're not going to be a world champion when you're 25 years old. Sometimes you just got to keep at your craft and improve and get better. And so her last fight against Luana Santos, I really thought that she showed exactly that. The volume was there. Physically, she looked stronger. Her takedown defense looked a lot better. Luana Santos did get 1 of 5 takedowns, but Casey O'Neill on the ground, defensively pretty sound, was able to get a submission attempt. Kind of seemed like Casey O'Neill's trending in the right direction. The problem with Gabriella Fernandes, meanwhile, is that I don't really think she can grapple all that much, and she's not really the biggest striker. Her fight with Jasmine Jasudavicius, she gave up the 4 takedowns. The fight with Teresa Bleda, she gives up 3. Now, Teresa Bleda is very one-dimensional. She really only knows how to wrestle. She's a little strong, she's rugged, but she's not good. And so being able to get taken down and controlled by an absolute novice is a bad sign. Here's the worst sign. Carly Giudice. Carly Giudice has had 5 fights in the UFC. She's only taken down 1 opponent, and that was Gabriella Fernandes. And she managed to take her down twice on 4 attempts. Fernandes, meanwhile, went 2 for 8 in that fight with Carlo Giudice. Again, another novice in the terms of grappling. Giudice has 25% takedown accuracy in her career. It's only taken down 1 opponent. Fernandes, taken down twice. I think that there's a big hole in her grappling. I think that her striking, it doesn't have enough power, really. I know the Wang Kong fight, she drops her with the head kick and grabs the rear naked choke, but really, that was kind of her high spot moment. Outside of that, there's a little too much waiting. There's a little too much giving up the takedowns. Julia Stoliarenko, her last time out, Stoliarenko, this is a layup. Stoliarenko outstruck her. Stoliarenko was able to get some good standing cage control, keep it a competitive fight. I just don't see anything out of Gabriel Fernandes that would lead me to believe that she's really any good in one department. Whereas Casey O'Neill's improving, she's getting better. The trick to beating her, out wrestle her. Fernandes is not going to do that. Okay, well then keep up with her punch output and outstrike her. Well, I don't really see that happening as well. Well, Casey O'Neill's fought 1 time in the last 3 years. Yes, yeah, she took some time off, came back, got a win, looked good, took a little more time off, and is still developing, still getting better, still making improvements. Maybe I'm just lost in her eyes because they look like a beautiful ocean. But I'm a Casey O'Neill fan. I think she gets the win here. I'll be backing her.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to come down to the takedowns for her. I don't have a great read on this fight, to be perfectly honest. Casey O'Neill is just too inactive for me to really get a great read fight to fight. Offensive wrestling just hasn't really been there all that much for her, at least in her last handful of fights. Yeah, I don't have a. I know, yeah, the Judy's point is pretty good. And if Casey O'Neill's getting takedowns, getting on top control, I feel pretty good about it. But I feel like in terms of like who's actually like throwing heat on the feet, I don't think it's even close. Like Gabrielle Fernandes knocked out your girl Wang Kong.
I know. That was lucky. Run it back.
Was it lucky? She's got some dynamite in her hands.
She booted her in the head and then joked her out. So
and then Judy's other than losing that fight, you're like, if this fight, like you're gonna know in this fight real, like I don't know. Like I know that there's a little bit more volume on the Casey O'Neill side, but I don't know if she's gonna want to stand there and exchange in the pocket with Gabriella Fernandes. I'll go on the other side. I'll pick Gabrielle Fernandes, but I have like next to no conviction there, buddy. Moving on down, we've got Navajo Stirling taking on Bruno Lopes. Navajo's like a -600 favorite, -650 favorites. The comeback on Bruno is +475. Bruno chin hasn't been great. It's like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object here because Lord knows that, like, you know, they've been making these prices on Navajo Stirling so wide in many of his fights. It's like I've been forced to, you know, chase the odd prop here and there on the finish. He hasn't been getting finishes. 3 straight decision wins, including the one against Tokos, which he was a -1400 favorite in that fight. Hindsight probably a little bit crazy on that front, but he looks like a good prospect. It's all been kind of coming together. Bruno Lopes, on the other hand, like Dustin Jacoby, not exactly a potent hitter, knocks him out in the first round. Brenton Ribeiro looks like a scary dude, but like not some sort of historical power hitter on the feet. So,
Bruno was a -600 favorite in that fight too, by the way,
yeah,
against Brenson, and he got stiffed in a round. So like, no, Bruno, no, you do not want to bet this guy.
I struggle with his, and then he went to decision with that Gadzia. He was an underdog against Bruno's been good to me. In fairness, is like I bet him pretty big against Gadzia Zulov here as an underdog. I was like, that's one of the more fraudulent guys to come off of Contender Series. And it was a super boring fight. He ended up getting the takedown, just basically spamming, holding against the cage. Maybe he can do that against Navajo Stirling. That's how he would win this fight. But Sterling's the side for me, and I'll say that I haven't even looked at what is this KO prop this week. Does he get his first knockout? It's a good situation for him to get his first knockout. I don't know if I want to pay -175 when he's been burned 3 times in a row on that front. Sterling, I've got him in some early week parlays. How am I going to get more invested? We'll see as the week goes along. I'm not entirely sure on a prop side, but Sterling's the side for me. What will you?
Yeah, I got Navajo Stirling for sure. I mean, again, this is a guy that is only 8-0. He's got less than 10 pro fights, so he's going to be making improvement fight to fight. When you saw him in the Contender Series, big rangy kickboxer from City Kickboxing, good power. Okay. The Tugo Togos fight, he gave up some takedowns. How's it good as his cardio? Looked okay. The Ivan Urslan fight, he got a knockdown. He got 110 significant strikes landed. His cardio looked good. Rodolfo Bellato last time out was a real key here. Bellato is a black belt. Bellato maybe on steroids, but I mean, he's one of these guy that's very wild. He's going to come at you. He's capable of taking you down and posing problems. He's also capable of knocking you out, as I had to unfortunately experience a few weeks back when he iced a ticket for me. Point being, Bellato's like a fringe top 15 guy. He's fought quite a few of the better guys in the division. So for a young Navajo Stirling who was 7-0 at the time to be taking on that level of step up, that is a step up. And he passed with flying colors. His takedown defense looks a lot better. His cardio, again, is there. His durability is there. He doesn't have to land 100 significant strikes. He can go with a less is more approach. He can fight smart, high ring IQ. I think he's developing into a very solid prospect. So now they're giving him a regressed fight. Bruno Lopes would lose to Ivan Urslan and Rodolfo Bellato. Very likely, my opinion. But you got a kid that's just 8-0, and you're building him into a division where you need big guys. And you like undefeated fighters. You like 205ers. Or you like, 185 guys. You like those that bigger between 85 to 205 heavyweight. Those are the 3 weight classes that they're 100% looking for. So Sterling being a light heavyweight, it's like, 100% that there is a path to build this guy up, get this guy some attention, build him up the proper way, and then we're going to have him jump into title challenge at some point. I think he's doing all the right things. Again, it's all about answering questions. You knew he could kickbox. That was his base. Could he grapple? Well, now he's proven that he can grapple a little bit, but does he have the ability to fight 15 minutes? Does he get emotional? Can he come back from a down around? Sometimes it looks like his body language is, he's getting tired, and then he'll find that second gear. That's all really important, and Navajo Sterling's been showing that all to me. If you take, this is the mold, man. If you take a guy from City Kickboxing, who's a kickboxer, who's 6'4" or over, Eugene Behrman will make him a legitimate fighter. That gym features Navajo Stirling, 6'4", Cam Roston, 6'4", Carlos Ulberg, 6'4", Israel Adesanya, also on this card, 6'4", and Brando Pericic, what's up, 6'5". This is the mold. They've done extremely well with having big, long strike, rangy kickboxers add those grappling skills. They fight smart. They fight patient. They do have a killer instinct. He's got a lot of good bodies to work with on a day-to-day basis. Bruno Lopes is up shit's creek. And I can't add too much to what you said. I mean, he got knocked out by Justin. Justin Jacoby is a power puncher. I will disagree at that point. The guy cracks. But yeah, less than 2 minutes into the first round. And Brenson Ribeiro, first round knockout. It's not exactly a great look. When you look at the guys he was beating on... so he loses to Brenson Ribeiro by first round knockout, okay? Then he fights Marcos Brigadow for the LFA title. Well, Brigadow was 0-1 in Contender Series as well. He's not good. Then they bring him on for a second fight in the Contender Series against Mikhail Sanzianati. Okay, that guy, the Georgian guy knocks him down in the first round and kicks his ass. And then in the second round, completely gasses out. Bruno been knocked down 3 of his last 5 fights. And there's another one coming from Navajo Stirling, who is just going to get better and better. Bruno's going to get clipped at some point. He's tumbling over. Now, do you want a minus 175 on a KO prop for a guy that couldn't get Tuco Tokos out of there 3 fights back? Yeah, I'll admit, probably not. But he's getting better, man. The knockouts will come. They will start to materialize as he gets more comfortable. And this is a great spot for him to find that comfort zone early and then secure a KO. So I do see it happening. I don't know if I'd want to load up on, considering it's minus 175 for a KO prop. Like, could he not just knock him down and grab his neck? Like, that probably exists as well. So don't get caught maybe jumping too much into that one.
I've been burned on that prop. That's why it's like I'm playing it around similar type of.
Yeah.
Maybe it was even, I forget what the exact prices were on some of the other ones, but yeah, I'm not gonna get murdered by that this week. I'll tell you that much. All right, we got Ricky Simon, the pride of the Pacific Northwest, taking on Adrian Yanez. Minus 140 for Simon. Yanez, could we have plus 120? Your thoughts?
Do we have any confirmation that Ricky's got bleach blonde hair? Because Ricky fighting in Seattle. Yeah, Ricky fighting in Seattle with bleach blonde hair seems to just be a whole other level. The last time he did it was against Javid Basharat in Seattle. Ricky Simone, let me just bring it up. What exactly was his number? Ricky Simone was a plus 200 underdog, and he proceeds to knock the guy out in the first round and look really good doing it. So, yeah, maybe he's going to feed off the live energy. Maybe he wants to go out and put on a great performance at home. No bleach blonde hair?
I will, yeah, give me a sec.
Okay.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up. You keep talking.
All good. It seemed like he did feed off the crowd energy and was able to deliver a key performance there. The thing with Ricky, and he's only 1 year older than Yanez, if you can believe that, is that he definitely seems to have slowed down. This guy used to go out there and shoot 10 takedowns every fight. You know, he was a dog and a bone. His percentage of landing takedowns is it's not great, but he'll go 3 for 10. You know, he's just constantly shooting takedowns over and over and over again. And he had the cardio to back it up. After that, I don't know if it's a knee injury. I don't know if it's, age and wear and tear and miles. It could be a hip flexor. It could be many different things. He doesn't really seem to be wanting to engage in the wrestling as much. So he's tried to work on his striking. Outstruck Song Yadong in the first round of their fight, but then he fell apart the longer it went. Against Vinicius Oliveira.
No bleach.
No bleach. Yeah, I can't get behind Ricky Simone this week.
But maybe he bleaches it during, like, what if he bleaches it on, like, after
could be. But yeah, the point that I was making was just like the longer these fights go, is that one-dimensional wrestling just stops working. Against Song Yadong, again, he went 2 for 9 in the takedowns. Against Mario Batista, he went 2 for 13 in the takedowns. Against Vinicius Oliveira, he went 2 for 11 in the takedowns. So his shooting 10, 11, 12 takedowns, he's not able to complete them. And then when he does complete them, not a whole lot of ground and pound and not a whole lot of control time. So the older he gets, he's shooting a little bit less and he's getting a little less control time. Therefore, he's forced to strike. And at 5'6" with a 69-inch reach, he pulls a lot of his punches. He's prone to getting hit. He just seems to be tiring. It's like a cardio issue more than anything else. He didn't used to gas, and now he seems to be gassing. So let's take out the Javid Basharat performance out of there, right? He was on a 3-fight losing streak when he cashed that ticket. It's the 2 subsequent fights. First one against Cameron Smotherman. Cameron Smotherman has the worst takedown defense in the UFC. He cannot stuff a takedown to save his life. Ricky goes 3 for 10 on takedowns. Has 9 minutes of control time against Cameron Smotherman. But then in the third round, Cameron Smotherman's slapping him up and landing good strikes. In fact, by the numbers, you had 9.5 minutes of control time, and Cameron Smotherman still managed to only be outstruck by 5 strikes, 5 significant strikes. In the third round, Smotherman outstruck him 17-11, and Ricky Simone went 1 for 7 on takedown attempts. Cardio's not there. The control time's not there. He shoots a zillion takedowns. It's in Seattle. Maybe that's all they care about. He shot 10. He got 2. You got 8 minutes of control time. We're going to score it for Ricky because the fans like him. Maybe. But these judges don't really seem to care about hometown favoritism. They're looking for damage. And Ricky's just not really landing the damage. He actually, his last fight against, I said a Basharat, he nukes him. But his last fight against Ronnie Barcelos, he won the first round on all 3 judges' scorecards. The second and the third round, he cannot take Rowney down, and you see him in real time start to get frustrated. He runs out of plans. He's not really doing much other than just setting his head on to the right, pumping out the jab, coming up short with the right hand. All of a sudden, you're getting put through the paces, and he just can't find that secondary gear, that next level. Yanez, meanwhile, the fake stat here is that he's had 9 fights in the UFC, and only one guy has ever taken him down. So in his other 8 fights prior to Daniel Marcos, nobody had taken him down one time. The reason it's a fake stat is Vinicius Salvador, Jonathan Martinez, Rob Font, Tony Kelly, Davey Grant could have taken him down, just chose not to. None of those guys are really wrestling. David Grant can wrestle. He just chose not to. All those other guys, Jamar, Jonathan Martinez, Rob Font, Randy Costa, they're all very, very specific strikers. And Yanez has been striking with them. So it's unfair to say, oh, he's got 81% takedown defense, and he's only been taken down by one guy in 9 UFC fights. It's very misleading because I don't know for sure what his wrestling's like. What I can say, though, is that his wrestling is most certainly not as bad as Cameron Smotherman's.
Yeah, that's fair.
And his striking is quite good. Where he gets into trouble is against power punchers, right? But Ricky Simone's not. Oh, he knocked out Javid Bashara. But, for the most part,
he sent him to the Shadow Realm.
He was getting beat up in that fight until he sent him to the Shadow Realm, getting outworked, coming up a little bit short. Yanez is only an inch.
You got knocked out by Rob Font. You got knocked down twice by Jonathan Martinez, then knocked out.
Yeah, well, and the leg kicks beat him up. Yeah, they're tough looks. Rob Font's not a big power puncher. Jonathan Martinez is not a big power puncher. Daniel Marcos last time out was able to just outwork you and landed 2 of 4 takedowns. I think Ricky Simone could land the takedowns. I think Ricky Simone could mix in a little bit of striking.
He's not putting up 86 significant strikes in that
This
fight,
is where I fail. Yeah, this is where I fail to see how he secures it. Is even with the takedowns, if he's losing the striking exchanges and he's, he got outstruck in that round 22-11, but he got a takedown, maybe it's not enough. And then the first round is Ricky's best round. If Ricky happens to lose the first, it's not going to go good for him. If Ricky wins the first, but happens to lose the second, the third round's not going to go good for him. He needs to be up 2-0 going into the third. And you're just not really seeing that level of conditioning out of him. So Ronnie Barcellus can wrestle for days. I'm not faulting him for tiring against Rowney. Smotherman gassing out in the third round against him was a really bad look. And, he said in the post-fight interview, Cameron Smotherman called him a racist. He was like, this guy's a racist. And they were like, why? And he's like, because at one point he told me, freeze, you're under arrest, while he was holding me down. So they talked to Ricky about it, and he's like, I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like, buddy, you can't do nothing about this. I'm quite literally holding you down, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're under arrest. You're basically handcuffed. That's how I meant it. I grew up with John Simone as a pro fighter. Ricky's got, who's his cousin fights in the UFC too? Why am I drawing a blank on it? I'll look it up. Ricky Simone is from a fighting family, so he understands talking trash. But what he's saying is, I got this guy pinned down, and there's nothing really I can do. Like I'm not landing ground and pound. I'm mostly just holding him down. Vince Morales is Ricky Simone's first cousin.
Really? I didn't know
that. And his brother John Simon, however you want to pronounce his last name, is like a 12-fight pro fight, fights for APFC.
Yep.
The guy's been a scrapper his whole life. He likes to talk a little shit. He likes to wrestle a little bit. I just don't know that Adrian Yanez is not going to land the more significant blows, get taken down a few times, but mitigate most of the damage, and then keep this thing very close and competitive. Because it's coming down to the line. Ricky Simone is, what's his current line right now? Minus
140 plus 120. Everything that you're got, it seems like this fight is lined pretty well as far as
I think it's closer to a 50-50. One guy, Yanez, wins the fight in Las Vegas 70% of the time, but it's not in Las Vegas, it's in Seattle. And I do think that means something, because knocking out Ricky Simone, good luck. Maybe it's possible, but historically, the guy can take a hell of a punch. And his style of grinding on you the entire time and trying to take takedowns, you're chest to chest. You're not at range lancing fancy boxing combinations. Yanez likes to find his flow state and likes to find fancy boxing combinations. Simone's not going to give that to him. But it's damage versus control time. And in any other jurisdiction, I'm going with damage. But in Seattle, in front of hometown fans, and it's Ricky, and he's a Pacific Northwest hero, and he's going to be getting takedowns and he's going to be racking up control time. They might not boo him. They might be saying, Ricky. And if he shows up to weigh-ins and his hair's bleached blonde, that's essentially he's gone Super Saiyan, man. That Javid Basharat one was killer. Giannis seems like the kind of guy that could also go down that same path. And last but not least,
how many points do you add if he comes in with a bleach bucket?
Yeah, bleach bucket. I would still line him as like a minus 145 favorite. Well, I guess that's what he is. Yeah, I mean,
he is.
I don't think it matters all that much. I just
It doesn't.
when you start off thinking about Ricky Simone, he might be a little bit over the hill. He might be a little bit older. He might be a little bit washed. Ricky is 33 years old, right? Adrian Yanez is 32 years old. Yanez has been knocked out more times than Ricky has, and Yanez has, I don't know, five or six less fights. I think five less fights. These guys are about the same age, the same amount of experience, and Giannis might have more wear and tear. So, and then it's like, just take Simone. And I think I would, but he's not the plus money underdog, or he's not an underdog. He's not plus money, and it's a 50-50 fight in my opinion. Damage versus control time. Giannis will have the damage. Simone will have the control time. Basing it on that Cameron Smotherman fight, which I watched twice in my tape study, I think Giannis wins this fight. Being that it's in Seattle, I'd have to trust two bad judges. I might not get there. So I don't know. My official pick is actually Adrian Yanez. Need a couple underdogs. He's going to be one of them. But again, it's not any type of degree of giant certainty. Just I think probably lands a few more better shots, stuffs a few takedowns. As Simone tires, you start to take over. Keep it 1-1 going to the third. We're money. 2-0 going to the third, we're money. If we win the first round, we're likely money. Don't go down to an 0-2 hole because that's where Ricky thrives. Win the first two and then hold you up against the cage. Who cares? He knows how to win. And in Seattle, he's going Super Saiyan. So it's dangerous, but I can't get back to that money line for Pretty Ricky. So I'm going to go with Adrian Yanez.
Makes sense. Finally, we got Alexia Tainera, taking on Bruno Brazil, minus 750, biggest favorite on the card in Tainara. The comeback on Bruno Brazil, plus 550. I played Tainera earlier in the week. It's kind of keep growing. I don't love playing Chick Chalk, but she seems way more physical. Every single one of her fights, she goes out there very, very physical in her approach, and just kind of like bullies and controls opponents. Getting 5 takedowns against Loma Bumi looks pretty good in hindsight. Like that's Rose Conceição, like not a bad regional level opponent that she took on Dana White's Contender Series, and gets those takedowns, gets control time, seems to have no shortage of energy. And I suppose MMA math here would say that Loma Bumi was able to double up Brazil on strikes and get a takedown. So maybe that's why it's at where it is. But over and over, and we see it even like the Shi Ming fight for Bruno Brazil that she fought kind of out of the UFC. It was kind of like she was in this like limbo period because it was on a road to the UFC card. She just struggles with takedowns and defending takedowns, and that's probably all Tainera is going to do to her. So as it grows, it's a chick fight. You never feel too great, but I'm not sure what the price would have to be for me to take Brazil. I never really think that she was UFC level in the first place. Where are you at with this one?
Well, the only thing that's like, a little bit worrisome about it is Tainara is my play of the week. I think she rolls, and she's a minus 500, even worse in some places.
Minus 750.
Yes, and yet she's 13-1, and her one career loss is to Bruno Brazil. So she's lost this fight before, and now she is a minus 750 over the only girl to ever beat her. It's women's MMA, Paul. Does anybody want to bet minus 700, minus 600, minus 500? No. And then in this case,
I swear to God, I missed that part.
Yeah, I know. Choked her on guillotine choke. Yeah, well, again.
That's a big yikes.
It is a big yikes, but in many ways, I liken it too. Although this one should be way more clear than Alexa Grasso versus Maycee Barber. But they fought before. Thing is, when they fought before, you had a young fighter versus an older fighter, and a lot of things change. Thaynara lost to Bruno Brazil. She was like 21 or 22 years old. Brazil, I think it was 21. Bruno Brazil was 26. So yeah, you made a mistake early in your career against a fighter that's 5 years older than you. Who's improved since then? Who's made the improvement since then? Who's gone on the run? It's Thaynara. Thaynara fights 5 rounds every time she fights 3 rounds because her dance to the octagon is 2 rounds worth of energy, Paul. This girl is loving the action. She's loving the limelight. She's got good cardio. She's very physically strong. Her wrestling looks massively improved. Her striking looks massively improved. It's going to take an incredible feat of strength to really knock her off her game. And Bruno Brazil has just been trending very much downwards. When you look at the trajectory of both girls, Bruno Brazil wins this fight. But in recent times, she's just been kind of brought in as an opponent. Lost to Loma Luke Bume, who, if you're using MMA math, Thaynara just tossed around like a sack of potatoes, but loses to, she loses to Wang Kong. The UFC doesn't release her. They loan her out to Road to UFC to fight Mi Xing. They loan her out from a UFC contract to Road to the UFC to be in a, I don't know, she's a 3-1 favorite, but not like, she's not it, man. She's not a contender. She's not developing in the division. She doesn't have any real dynamite. She doesn't have big striking power. She doesn't have big submission game, although I understand she has submitted Thaynara in the past. She's getting older. They're meeting at the right time for Alexa Thaynara to go out there and just really show off all of her improvements and win this fight however she sees fit. But for minus 750, and she has lost this fight, and this is women's MMA in a nutshell. This fight, bear with me on this one. This fight started as Nicole Cagliari versus Carol Foro. Then Nicole Cagliari pulls out. So the UFC books Carol Foro versus Stephanie Luciano. Then Carol Foro pulls out. So the UFC books Stephanie Luciano versus Alexa Thaynara. Stephanie Luciano pulls out. So now Alexa Thaynara is fighting Bruno Brazil in the opener. It went from Carol Foro versus Nicole Cagliari through 3 different opponents to get with Alexa Thaynara versus Bruno Brazil. They're both on short notice. It's a women's MMA fight. It's hard to say Thaynara is a top ticket girl this week, but she is. I just honestly think she wins this matchup very easily. It's the first fight on the card, so I'm not looking to rebuild, but get it over with. Pull off the Band-Aid right now, Paul Shaughnessy, if we're going to have to do this. And yeah, you could have got her at a much better number days ago, a week ago. It's trending in her direction.
It may come back a bit. Like minus 750 is kind of wild. I will say wild. This, Cody. This is also just to add to like your fire of things to be worried about. She beat Mara McMahon. She lost to Denise Gomez. She beat Shauna Bannon. She lost to Luke Boonme.
It's true.
She beat Molly McCann. She lost to Wang Kong. She beat Shi Ming. She lost to Ketlin Souza.
She's due.
100% 50-50 hit rate.
You're right, Paul.
But I mean, does that road to the UFC fight really count? Does that really count as a UFC fight? I don't know.
If she would have lost to Ming Shi, do you think they would have said, don't worry, come back to the UFC? No. She was fighting for a contract on road to the UFC is what was going on. And, the boys in the Discord were all over that one. Mi Xing's just not it. So it was like easy Bruno Brazil pick. But, still went to decision. She outclassed her, but she starts to slow down. And
close fight, though, still.
And again, when you look at Thaynara, it's like Thaynara's on short notice. Theoretically, Thaynara's on short notice. And the whole way down to the ring, and she's busting it, and she's twerking, and then she stops, and then she runs all the way back, and then she runs all the way back, and then she stops. And then it's highly annoying if we're being honest with each other, but I'm here for it. This girl's short notice. She's got cardio. Bruno Brazil's replacing the 4th person for this matchup. Yeah, she's going to be very much small camp, 32 years old, not old. But again, Thaynara's 28. She's 4 years younger. She's stronger than you. She's faster than you. You were able to catch her once upon a time with a quick little guillotine choke. She was 2-0 at that time. You were 2-2. Yeah, 2 young fighters on their, starting their careers. Since then, Thaynara has gone on a 11-fight winning streak since losing that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno Brazil, meanwhile, is 0-1 in pro boxing and 0-1 in kickboxing, and she lost 5-4 in MMA. And like you mentioned, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. There's one girl here that could potentially compete for a title in her next 3 to 4 fights. someone that is 28, looks like she's got some star qualities, some very entertaining fights. And the other girl is you're renting her out to a road to the UFC to see if you can get a Chinese prospect to win over a Brazilian girl. Like Loma Lukbume's tenured. Loma Lukbume beat up Bruna Brazil, and Thainara made her look, out of it. Molly McCann, that's Bruna Brazil's best win. She choked her out in the first round and caused her to retire. Like, I think when you say there's levels to this thing, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. It's a prospect, and they're green, and they're prone to be making mistakes, and her ring IQ does seem wonky to me, but Thainara is a complete package for this division. Strong, physical, athletic. I think she'll go far. She's just got to continue to rack up these wins, and this is a perfect opportunity to do exactly that and rack up another signature one. So, yeah, listen, the money line, sure, it's blown up, and I have trouble saying will it be decision or submission because Thainara seems more of a decision girl, but when you watch her fight, she ain't trying to win points, man. She's trying to hurt you really badly. And I think Bruna Brazil could get caught with a punch. She could get, Denise Gomez was able to knock her down and get the TKO. Like, why couldn't Thainara land something as well? You're short notice. You're tired. 3 rounds of someone on top of you, or even just standing and landing shots, like it's going to wear up. You could get TKO due to fatigue more than that one clean shot. So I don't want to chase a prop on it, and I don't love the money line. So it's parlay material. But now you got 7-1 women's MMA favorite as a parlay piece against a girl who is her lone career defeat. This in a short notice. There's just enough to reckon why you should pass on this thing, but not dog or pass on this thing. Just don't touch it. Or if you got Thainara already, if you've already got her parlayed, if you had her when she was in the neighborhood of minus 500, all day long, she's going to continue to go to minus 800. And come fight time, there's just no meat left on the bone.
Yeah. I don't know how much further it can go. People are going to see that previous results and probably play it whether those people move the line or not. Who knows? Anyway, we're just about out of time. But before we go, hit them with the PRP codes.
I always say this every week, but it's like, I feel good about this one. But I do. So let's just have the universe line up here and do our thing. Israel Adesanya, Alexa Grasso, dog number 1. Michael Chiesa, Lerryan Douglas, Yousri Belgaroui is dog number 2. Kyle Nelson is dog number 3. Tofiq Musayev is dog number 4, and he'd be the PRP guy. Then we're going Chase Hooper. Marcin Tybura is dog number 5. Casey O'Neill, Navajo Stirling. I might backtrack that Adrian pick if we're being honest. But that would make it a six underdogs out of 13 fights. Which one am I over too high on that is probably going to shit in the apple pie? Yeah, maybe a Yanez, maybe some of these other guys. There's value on this card for sure. A couple big favorites. Sterling, Thainara, best picks. Too big a favorite. But there's enough of these plus money or near even type fights that as long as you get the right combination, then it'll be good. In terms of props and single bets over unders, yeah, I mean, we're going to discuss all that later on in the Discord as well. But it feels like it's a good week. Notable fighters. You know what you're getting yourself into. And barring a couple mistakes here and there, I expect the right fighter to get their hand raised more often than not.
Yes, sir. All right, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody and Paul, saying goodbye. Good luck.